we're back. Robots of Dawn. We finished the book. We read it. So what's the second talk, right?
Yeah. We're only doing 2 talks on this because the entire first, 2/3 of this book are long and dragged out and don't have to be.
Yeah.
And the book gets amazing. All right. The beginning is enticing and then it gets really boring.
That's true. The space trip was interesting.
Yeah.
And then it's boring from there.
I take back my
middle.
previous statement. It's interesting in the beginning, then it gets really boring. And then after you talk to the last suspect, it gets so much better.
And even ties together the whole robots series.
I don't even know that we needed to talk to everyone in 2 chapters at a time. We could have either
all
had
named again, Galadia.
Again.
Yeah, the chapter titles are funny. If you're new here, we're going to be doing tons of spoilers. We assume you either aren't against spoilers or you already read it. Book club vibes. We left off with the conversation with Galadia, and I love it. 3 books in, I'm not pronouncing her name.
I can't pronounce
the
it.
hussy who
Wait until
proved
we
to
get
be
to the
a
rest of the names.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, we got a ton of books, a ton of quotes from the book and all that, and we'll go through. But where we left off, I cannot believe I was so close to the conversation.
That's why
where it turns creepy.
I literally couldn't tell you anything more because I needed your honest reaction, and it was so worth it. Y'all didn't get to see it.
She woke up to
you
the
don't live
rant
together, but
we need a reality TV show house of just book and smarty
I should
pants
just record
ranting.
your ass.
Yeah, I know it's a good idea.
I woke up to it, right? It was in the morning.
Yeah. I was making breakfast for our beautiful daughter, listening to this freaking weirdo.
And he's like, "I need to tell you, I finally got to the part."
Yeah. So, if you know, basically, and I have no clue how this is going to screw up every platform, because we have to talk. I don't know what on Aurora. I think Asimov is basing this off of. There was
to begin with, this book is not for kids.
Yeah, that really.
There is so much stuff.
Because Asimov is great for kids. That's what we're getting into.
Everything in this,
it's all about sex.
Everything about this book is about sex. It's about sex with robots.
The last one was pretty heavy
people.
too.
But this is the dude hasn't gotten laid or something.
I know Asimov. Yeah.
I admit, none of the other books felt this
thirsty.
Yeah.
This. Yeah. There's
an actual sex scene. There's talk about orgasms. There's just
and there is what I'm getting to, which is us getting I love canceled left and right. It's both people out of context and be they talk about what on that show? It's not me. It's Asimov, the greatest sci-fi writer of all time, or the most prolific at least. Everybody loves Asimov, but apparently
see this one coming.
Yeah. They have on Aurora. You're supposed to have sex with your little kid. You said
you're
you had
not
the
supposed
quote.
to, but so I have the quote, but it's it's layers of issues.
Yeah.
So they're okay with having sex with robots. They're okay with having sex with younger people.
Yeah.
They're okay with young people and encourage young people having sex with each other and experimenting.
But they never say the age.
It gets fuzzy.
15,
the only thing. The only thing about
18,
looking it up here,
because they live forever too. So I was that's my weird save, but that's not what he's implying. I was maybe young to them is 20s.
No, they're talking about
and it doesn't matter. They also are burying the lead, as they say. They are pro incest. The whole idea is that the family unit should be teaching the kids about sex, because sex is an important part of life, and you learn everything else in the home.
Yeah.
So you should learn how to do that in the home as well.
And
yeah,
so we end up meeting Fastov's. Is that his name right?
You got it. Yep.
We met Fastov's daughter. We actually meet her in person.
There's no V's in there. It's just Fastov. Adolf Fastov. That is probably the quickest in podcast history. We just talked about how this book is about minors having incest, and I just had to use Adolf Hitler's name.
The thing about this planet is that
hit that like and subscribe, baby.
If you do participate in you don't know it, because generally what happens with kids is that they're taken away. Oh, sorry.
If you guys heard a UFO through the headphones,
we're sorry.
Yeah.
So if So generally the way it works is that you have your kids and then they're taken away and they're raised by someone else. Very Solaria type.
Yeah.
Except I don't think they're necessarily... Oh, yeah, they are raised by robots, sort of. Because we also meet a later character that talks about how the robots interfere and they're tweaked to better, like, raise children.
Yeah. Which is what Solaria is working on.
Solaria hadn't achieved that.
Yeah.
They still... Which I have a feeling they have a hybrid like Solaria too, where they have some people around.
Yeah.
They just have mostly robots watching over kids. So generally the kids all like go away to like a boarding school or some whatever. Like you send your kids away, you don't raise them. Someone else does.
Yeah.
And then later on, when you meet your kid, chances are you don't know they're your kid.
Yeah.
And so like there's this concept of like sex is very casual on this planet, and at a very young age you can give yourself to someone and they can accept you, like, and because they don't know if you're their kid or not.
Incest is a strange concept because nobody the family
knows.
unit doesn't really make sense there. This is a sci-fi,
and not every, like, you can't just get pregnant, like you have to get approved for pregnancy, and they do a whole gene.
Yeah, which is funny, that's implied, doesn't explicitly say, but there's got to be forced abortions or what. How do they
They
do
must
that?
do some type of birth control. Like, I think Asimov
Like
just
you're
didn't think
allowed
it
to
through.
come off birth control, but like people could just not take it, or
Unless they have like a block or a T or something, they just take it out.
Yeah, that's what I mean. There's some sort of chemical or surgical way to do this.
It's not talked about, but it's kind of implied that they don't worry about it. Like they're not just having kids at random.
Yeah. He doesn't get it. It's weird. Like we were hinting at. Don't worry, we'll get back to the meat of this creepiness issue. But for how much fluff is packed into this book, how much random stupid tangents he goes on.
There's a lot of
For
loopholes.
him not to flesh out this stuff is nuts. Like for people to praise Asimov is like this brilliant.
He fleshes out like a lot of dumb shit.
Yeah, it's like, guys, I love Asimov. Oh, clearly we're doing a whole thing on this, and we're excited.
I know meals. Like,
yeah, we know about what they eat and all this, but the fact that we're still gray on like how does this actually get implemented?
I really could have gotten just one or two meals where like, oh wow, look, there's like a piece of
I know if you guys
that
read
used
it.
to be attached to a food. Like,
No, you're not
to an
crazy.
animal,
That was
like,
driving us crazy too. All this food talk and random shit. But it's Plato's Republic.
it wasn't even very good. It's not like I read it and was hungry.
Yeah, that's true. But the whole kids thing is Plato's Republic. It's that he wanted to scramble up a lot of people. Even the Zoroastrians had issues with this, with the groups that come in and are mad at royalty and bloodlines and all this crap. And so how to get away from that is to implement a kind of randomization into your society, whether that's through free love movements, just sex being loosey-goose in general. And then here, with this high-tech sci-fi shit, you're able to just randomized allocation of kids, right? Because they get assigned to their, like, because that's what was so weird about Fastoff wanting to take on his actual biological daughter. They go into a whole thing about how that's not illegal or anything. It's just so strange.
What I understand from the society is like you will decide that, like, we would have decided like, all right, we like each other. Would you like to try to have children?
Yeah.
And that's when you qualify to get quote unquote married, because you've agreed to have kids.
Yeah.
Then they'll do like a gene test and make sure everything's good, and then we can be approved X amount of kids. Like,
which is like financial even, right? Like based.
It's got a bunch of different.
It seems more based on society, like just maintaining a larger.
More based on like genes and what you do and who you're pairing with and how you guys are gonna like. How your genes are going to go. It's very eugenics, I guess.
Yeah, for sure.
But
I think this is the most realistic part about what would be in the future, where people
like,
would agree with all of this on paper.
They definitely want, obviously, they want roboticists and these high up, like someone like Fastoff.
Yeah,
Novi.
you got it.
They want him to procreate because he's a genius.
Yeah.
So he actually ends up having 2 daughters for whatever reason. Oh, shit.
Okay.
I hope you all...
You're good. I don't think it... I just worry, but it's good.
Yeah. Sorry if
there was
you
an
heard
audio
UFO
thing going.
again.
You're good.
It's a different setup because we're not home right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if it sounds a little different, we're not home. Mobile recording. But go ahead.
Yeah. And the baby's like down down the hall.
The baby looms behind us.
It's kind
in
of
our minds.
It is a real thing. Like, I don't want to get too loud, and I know I sometimes do. But anyway, where was I?
How they allocate the kids and...
Yeah, I think you're even approved X amount of kids.
Yeah. For sure.
Per mating.
But even that implies they're terminating kids because you're never going to get it right. Like, so exactly 3 kids.
In one of the conversations with Fastoff, they talk about how he probably would have been terminated had the eugenics stuff been during his...
Oh, that's right.
The time he was going to be born, because he has the big ears and he's not a very attractive person.
Because there's a whole thing where he's like, I get it, because Bailey like smirks. And then... Because
he has these big ears and like a very like charming smile. Like, not charming, like I almost think of him...
I'm thinking of an actor, trying to visualize.
I'm trying, but I can't think of anyone. Yeah. I don't know any actors' names.
I know, we never know the name. But yeah, there's a whole thing where he makes fun of, because he's going on and on about how the spacers and Aurora specifically are all like perfect, in quotes.
Yeah,
like,
he's not perfect.
And he's like, I know what you're thinking, Bailey. I look goofy.
Yeah.
But he's a genius in
he
other respects.
He has a disarming smile. Like, it's...
yeah. But that's Asimov playing with, again, and this is connected to the incest thing. My whole point in the Foundation, I gotta pick up a different word, man, like the kids do with like, they don't say suicide, they say something else.
Unalive.
Unalive, because Jesus Christ, the bots are gonna pick up on this in the conversation. Rightfully so. Esoteric.
Matters.
Yeah, I don't know what we want to call it. Esoteric Asimov was my theory in Foundation, really the whole Foundation trilogy, because I'm like, what are you saying? You're saying he's pro-secret society guiding all of civilization for the better, like your betters secretly manipulating you? And that is definitely what the... He just hit the mic for the 3rd time. Well, I'm explaining the sci-fiification of Plato's Republic over 2,000 years of Western culture distilled into sci-fi. But anyways, what was I saying? I hope it's not affecting your audio as a listener. The point is, really, what was I saying? That was unbelievable. That was the Force. That was Bailey. That was Giscard. We're gonna get to Giscard in a second, guys. My whole somewhat schizo, like, kind of, they're controlling us. Asimov is either pro backroom manipulation, secret manipulation by the betters of society, or he's trying to show you that this is not good. Because my whole point, like I said, everybody would agree with this baby selection eugenics thing. I don't mean everybody. I mean, like, a lot of people. I mean, like, the average person, when you get this explained to them, even, like they call the midwits, they're like they're higher IQ than normal. I always call them the 115s. Apparently Nietzsche shit on this too. Like, people a little bit above intelligence than most people start to become like the manipulators of society, these kind of finanglers, I can figure it out because I'm smarter than the average guy. So I can, if I was just in charge and plotted shit, it would work. And Asimov is trying to show you that none of these plans work. Like, he's not really critiquing any one thing, I think.
No, yeah.
He's showing you, like, all of this. It's silly to think that you're going to come up with a utopia.
It almost feels like he was just doing a philosophy, like, experiment and trying to see how far he could go. Yeah,
that's what I was saying. Like, sci-fi is a branch of philosophy. It's a type of it's almost like a philosophical writing style. Instead of me just sitting there telling you what I think, I mean, utopia, I just said utopia, but that was written in, I think, the 1500s, and they consider that a philosophical work, not a sci-fi work. In Plato's Republic, when he's laying out a whole civilization and how it could work with existing tech, I think that's why you don't call it sci-fi, because it's not really thinking about advanced tech. But, Asimov, that's all it is. It's philosophy of the future. It's thinking, how would these things work? Because all ancient philosophical texts is people, how would this work? If you had this and that, wouldn't this come about? If we set up society this way, then this and that would happen for the good, right? But I think, and that's what I think is wrong about reading into Asimov, I don't think he's saying for the good, right? Like, see, clearly you want a robot secretly merging with aliens, at the end of Foundation, And in here, it's like, you want eugenics, right? It's like, no, because even Fastoff admits, who's pro-eugenics, is admitting, well, I would have been fucking terminated, but I wouldn't have known it anyways.
Bailey kind of mocks him. He's like, if all this eugenics stuff happened, or no, yeah, you're right. I'm pretty sure Fastoff is like, yeah, I know I would have been killed. And Bailey's like, well, wouldn't that have kind of messed it all up because they would have just wasted like a genius, because he really is a genius for his time.
Yeah.
And he's like,
he's so above all the other roboticists.
I both think he's a genius and I think not.
Yeah.
Because in a funny way, so much is because of the way he is. But then so much is not him at all.
Yeah. Yeah, him not revealing the robot secrets. We're just going to be flowing in and out of the chapters here. Spoilers for everything, so don't worry.
The spoiler here is like, so Fastoff wanted to... I feel like it was both. He wanted the experience of raising his own kid, but he also really wanted to see the human mind in development. Like, I don't think his daughter's totally wrong, because we end up talking to her, and we get her point of view where she feels robbed, because basically what happened is that he portrays it to Bailey like he just really wanted to raise his daughter, and it's not really shunned upon or shameful or wrong for you to want to do that. It's just not really what they do. Yeah. So when we talk to his daughter, she's like, he threw his weight around as like the top roboticist on the planet and did a bunch of backdoor deals to make it so that he could raise me. Like, it wasn't like, oh, I just want to raise my daughter, and everyone's like, that's kind of weird, but okay, go for it. You do you, boo. Like, no, it was like, hey, I'm going to raise my daughter. Here's a kickback. I'm going to raise my daughter. Yeah. Like, make it okay.
He put a lot of effort into doing this.
And a lot of people didn't like it. Like, while he's raising her, because it is cool. You get the perspective of both, because Bailey talks to both of them. Yeah. So Fastoff talks about how one time he just enjoyed raising her. And one time she came running in while he was like having a meeting with another roboticist. And she was 7 or something like that. And she comes running in and she's crying. Clearly something has happened. She's 7. Yeah. She's having a moment.
7-year-old breakdown.
And he immediately picks her up and he's kissing her and hugging her and just doing like not anything. It's
I know, jeez.
Because we talked about it, but this is actually, he never did anything.
He's being a good, loving father. I know, yeah.
That's actually not true either. But
well, that's, but I'm saying in that moment.
In this moment, he's just being a father. He's just comforting her and consoling her. And his friend was so
Oh, that's right. His friend is there, who's like another researcher guy.
Because he was like in a meeting.
Smarty guy. Yeah.
He stopped what he was doing to attend to her. And looking back, he tells Bailey, I guess that was weird. I probably shouldn't have done that.
Yeah. It was such an overt display of, we were talking about, what is he trying to say by that? Like, he is being, one, disrespectful by putting his kid above.
Yeah,
he
dropped. It's very, for their culture, he stopped what he was doing to take care of his kid, which technically you shouldn't even be raising to begin with.
But I'm saying it's almost like a communist, like kind of putting yourself, how dare you put yourself above like the mission, almost like above. You're putting
the mission of what we're doing right now.
This weird, perverted like love. And it's funny, I say perverted in their sense. Like to them, it's gross to, and it literally the same reason we think perverted. Like it literally is weird and hurtful for everyone, including the kid, to show what we would consider normal family love.
Affection.
Like, like being nurturing to your own actual kid. Like, but that's antisocial behavior. That's so selfish and so strained. Like,
it's very self-centered.
Everything breaks down.
You're doing all of this. You're raising your own kid.
Yeah, we all agreed to treat everybody as the family. The whole civilization is your family.
But she's special now.
But now you're putting her, you're acting like royalty almost. Like the way that America, we have this, we don't like royalty. We don't think that's weird. Like that's how they look at the family unit. Like really? You put your own kid above, we're all each other's kids, which is funny for Gaia. I just said it in the Gaia voice. But all of Asimov's stuff's kind of touched towards each other.
Everything kind of interlocks.
And that's what I mean by he's not saying anyone's uniquely wrong.
I do think Aurora is like an inspo for Gaia.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You said that.
There's a line
with that. Oh, everything in the nature is all cared for, and
they
don't hurt nature. Video, nature serves them. They serve nature.
Their planet takes care of them. Mm-hmm. So I wrote a note. I was like, "This is Gaia 1.0."
Yeah. Because that's what's missing is this whole Giscard telepathy angle.
Yeah.
once you can actually have a telepathic bond with the fish, with the rocks
And the
themselves,
planet, yeah. Then you can actually
then
be
you're really
friends.
taking care of each other. Yeah, really,
Yeah.
you can really hug the trees in the tree.
Right now, y'all are just neighbors.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah, go ahead.
so Fastov's friend totally ignored him for an entire week or something after that, just out of both disgust and like anger.
Yeah.
So that's Fastov's view, where he enjoyed raising her. He wanted to raise her. Bailey asked him,
And he likes the culture so much, like you said. He really, I think it's important. He really agrees kind of with the friend that was
he's
kind of
like
nuts.
He's like, I mean, looking back, that was pretty rude.
Yeah, which is
Probably
funny
shouldn't
for
have
us.
done that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would. No offense to all of my friends, but they all know I would.
Every
stop
normal
what
human
I'm doing
on Earth, every Earthling.
You'd be surprised.
I know, it's true. They
You'd be
slapped a kid and
surprised.
sent him away.
No, I mean, some people are still very. Children should be seen, not heard.
Yeah. Especially at Asimov. Well, he wrote this in the 80s, but Asimov obviously growing up in the 50s and stuff.
It would have. That's the way he would.
All of our parents say that was normal. Like,
Well,
does mom have this story? Mom has a story
My
where
dad
like
was
he
sent
literally.
to military school.
Yeah,
so.
that's true. My mom literally couldn't speak at the table, like literally.
Yeah.
Kids.
No, your mom. Yeah. My dad. I don't know what was going on, but he got sent to military school. It just dropped his ass off. They were like, "Fix it."
He got sent to Mars.
So then we speak to his daughter, and we get a very different perspective where she says that a lot of Fastov's, the way he sees the way she was raised was kind of bullshit, that he really just wanted to, because he's really obsessed with the human mind, and what he really wanted was a source to basically learn about the human mind from point A to point B.
Yeah.
Like as
have
it
a little
develops.
test subject,
basically.
hands-on, living with you.
So she always felt like she was, for her, which I feel like some of it is just her young age also.
Yeah.
I do think some of it, I don't doubt that he did experiments on her the way he does with Bailey, where like
in the way we all do.
He'll test him in quotation marks and have Bailey walk into a bathroom where it looks like it's outside. And see if he shuts down. Or between walking from one estate to another, he'll stop halfway and kind of hang out for a minute and see if Bailey starts to like crack a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't doubt he did that to her.
Yeah.
But I have a feeling that's just part of his character also.
It's his personality trait. He's a researcher. He's a genius. He's into this stuff.
I almost feel like he does that shit to everybody.
Yeah. We have a 9-month-old, and it's like, but our parents who aren't into any of this stuff, it's just how you do it. You give them puzzles, you give them a little test, you try and see where they are, how they're going to react. I mean,
I really love watching her like figure something out.
It's just
Like
a
right now
curious
she's
thing.
This is such a side rant. She's into these little flip books.
Yeah.
And I've just she learned how to flip the flaps down very easily, but the flaps that go like outward and up, she struggled with, and like within a week, she's really gotten the hang of it. She still struggles sometimes, and she'll just get frustrated and use it to just turn to the next page.
Yeah.
I
don't think it's a side rant. That's what I'm really happy we're reading this, because I'm like, it is cool. Asimov playing with all these ideas. These people are manipulating with kids, but also that's where they can't break through. Even the Solarians they hated human contact, and yet they couldn't break through that wall of, robot hands-off raising of kids.
They didn't have a way. So the Aurorans that we speak to, they have figured out a way to tweak the robots and their interpretation of the first law or second law, one of the laws, to where they will allow kids to roughhouse or do a little. They'll let them basically struggle a little more or fight amongst each other a little bit until they sense that it's actually becoming a problem where someone's going to get hurt. But they do that because they've been tweaked where they interpret a small amount of struggle as children being greater for them to go through and experience in the long run than if they were to not experience any struggle at all. Very
which is
psychopaths, where like if they have no eustress, like they become so susceptible to issues for any stressor in the future.
But
like
all that points to the ultimate conclusion of this book, and I think all of Asimov's works, that there's something that forges the human spirit in this tension with nature. Obviously, from my infatuation with he was sweating underneath the tree thing.
Yeah.
And even at the end of obviously we're going to get into the whole, he gets caught in the rainstorm. He gets basically baptized by nature itself in the rainstorm. Yeah, he gets stuck. But But that's the conclusion that Bailey has, which is, I think we're just supposed to keep on struggling, like, because it's Fastoff who wants them to go out, right, and make
wants
worlds.
Earth to go out because Fastoff realizes that. Well, Fastoff realizes two things. He realizes, kind of like in Psychopaths, that they have become so weak.
Yeah.
Like they're not going to make it going out into these other worlds.
Because this is the globalists want to make every world like Aurora.
Yeah.
And the humanists, that's why I love this. It's so hilarious.
The humanists want everyone to kind of have a chance to go out there because they know there's enough planets. And if we're diverse enough, humans will manage somewhere.
But there's also him respecting an intangible.
Specifically wants it to be robot free.
Yeah, which is nuts. He's the robot guy. He's the lead
robot guy, but he wants
creator.
his colonies to be robot free.
Yeah.
And he loves that Earth is not super big. Like they don't have a huge robot culture. Although they have robots, they don't depend on them. Like these people literally have a robot bring them something, open a door, monitor, guard.
Yeah.
Like,
literally every little wish you can think of.
There's one line where Bailey says, and I feel bad. Like it's just going to be hard for me to look quotes up. But
yeah, don't worry.
There's a line where Bailey tells Daniil, on this planet, will they do does a robot do everything for me? Is there anything for me to do?
Yeah.
Like, would it wipe my ass if I asked it?
Really.
And Daniil's like, I mean, if you need it, if you want it to, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And that's...
To give you an idea of, like,
this
what
is why
this
I genuinely don't understand Asimov. That's why, like we said, we got to look into some of his stuff. Like, I that we're wrestling with this. I watched a thing yesterday. He was saying about the future of the world, of our real world, by 2000, by the year 2000, that if we don't figure out all these issues, all the same issues we haven't figured it out yet, spoiler alert, that we're going to be a small population, basically a minority, just a tiny amount of elites ruling the world.
Oh, well.
But then also if we do have it, then like he's saying like a Mad Max future, like a small amount of people just suffering, scrambling, hoping to stay, or a small amount, like all of these maintained worlds, like Aurora and stuff.
Yeah.
But he's saying that like it's a good thing. I'm like, are you really committed to the bit? Are you a fucking secret society master?
He just sees it like inevitable.
But he also said, he really said this. We looked it up. I mentioned in one of the talks before, but he really said he didn't even strike him that the caves of steel would be a miserable existence.
But maybe that's why he just sees the secret society as inevitable. Like if he's looking at society in a psychohistory type format where he's just looking at us as
foundationers running shit.
Yeah, like I really think he sees it. People liking leisure. I mean, we talk about people from our generation kind of looking at certain situations like, I ain't going to do that. I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
I don't want to.
Yeah, even with kids. I mean, it all comes back to kids. That's what I love about Asimov. He doesn't seem like a particularly, mommy, like kid, family energy guy. He seems like a big sci-fi abstract guy. But it's funny how it all does tie back to kids. I think he's smart enough to realize that is what changes people, what gets people motivated. That's going to be at the core of society. That's where people start snapping. They're not going to let you do shit to their kids. Whether it's let them starve, they start attacking the capitalists, or this.
Although it's funny,
or they attack the communists, like whatever it is.
We're seeing such different camps now, and I wonder if Asimov would have. I think he actually would have predicted I don't want to have a kid or bring a kid into this world.
Oh, I know, camp. It's so bad. Yeah. But his work seemed to be so against that.
But that entire group would probably be okay with children if they lived in a world like Aurora where everything is okay, status quo, and the children are being like checked genetically, they're being approved, they're being brought into the world in a controlled fashion. There aren't too many of them, there aren't too little of them. And honestly, at the end of the day,
we know people that explicitly
they don't even raise them.
In all other ways are super like how would you say that? They think they have high emotional sensitivity and security, and they will just dip right into the most eugenic speech you've ever heard.
Yeah.
Like certain people shouldn't reproduce and it's not a race thing. It's a, I think that, like I would say, it's the Nazis, they killed the eugenic thing but everybody was into that. All the cultures we're talking about, all of the intellectuals were pro that. But because they tied it to race, that, got stigmatized. Like I'm saying it should be stigmatized. It is I think it's a bad thing overall for the same reason I think Asimov is. Like, of course it makes sense on paper, but reality is just too complicated than that. Like, You can't just make a formula for who can reproduce and who shouldn't, because then you lose your fast-offs. You don't have...
Yeah. And Fastoff's argument against Bailey, by the way, was it doesn't matter because eventually another Fastoff would come out in the good genetics at some point. But it's really hard to prove that specific Fastoff. Like, we haven't had like an Einstein.
It's a mystical element that me and you do believe in.
It's kind of ridiculous to think like, oh, eventually, like it's a gamble, and statistically you would get one. Like, how long has it been between certain types of people, certain figureheads in our as a human race?
Yeah. You just mentioned Einstein. That's where I was going to go next. I was like, if you wanted to lay out, this is why it doesn't work. If you just laid out, this is why the racial theories and all that shit that...
By the way, any physicists out there that are like, I know this guy who's very obscure and specific, and he's better than I don't care. That was the first thing that came to my mind after dealing with my baby all day long.
That's not... Nobody's going to say that.
I know. I'm just protecting my mental...
But if you wanted to
someone, because I know they're out there.
Like, it's one of the greatest ironies of history's poetic, that, Hitler lost by kicking out the Jews. Could you imagine a Nazi Germany that wasn't anti-Semitic or something? Like, you can't fathom that. Obviously, it doesn't make sense. But could you imagine a German military with not kicking out Einstein and stuff? Like, if they had Einstein.
That would be a problem.
And so, but that's what I mean by, that's what you're doing. Even over here, America, you had people that were literally slaves, and in their own lifetime, like, when they're freed, they become geniuses, have inventions, and do all this crazy shit, which you would think on paper just doesn't make sense. Like, of course, they're not going to be able to do that because they don't have access to nutrients, or they don't have access to, their upbringing was too tough and all this. Like, that's just not how it works. And so that's why I think Asimov plays really well with these things sound good on paper, these physics ideas. Why can't you just do X, Y, Z and manipulate society from a top-down level? But that's not how it works. You're fine. Now she's overly freaking out about messing up the audio. It's not messing it up. Instead, it's messing up my rants. My beautiful rants. I'm trying to say racism bad, anti-Semitism bad. This isn't an incest podcast. Asimov wrote that, and he's saying it's bad. And he's saying cultural relativism.
Let me jump back into, now that we're back, let me jump it back into how weird this gets in the book for just a second, and why this rant had to be kicked off.
Yeah.
So it's not just that you can potentially have ancestral relations with your own family members and not know it. It's that they're like pushing. So Fastov, his daughter basically confesses that he did encourage her to experiment and to do certain things. And so when she felt ready to have sex, she came to him and asked him to be with her because it was the closest person that she had ever known.
Yeah.
That was the person that had raised her, and she felt if there's anyone that should have sex with, it's my dad.
And that's why it's not.
Which is so creepy.
Which is why the word incest is funny, because that's probably, it makes it sound like you agree, like this is what's happening in almost every household, right? But it's just they're not literally your biological parent.
What do you mean?
Of course, the closest person, the first person they might offer themselves to was the parent figure, but it's not their biological, mother and father.
No, this is kind of like a Oedipus. What's the opposite of Oedipus? Where the girl Electra.
Yeah. No, but I'm saying that's why in their culture, the term incest doesn't even make sense.
You're saying. Okay, sorry.
But in this case, it does. Like, because obviously, because he broke the norm, and it's
technically, if they're being raised in some type of a school or academy with like robots and stuff, you wouldn't have. You would actually.
You might offer yourself to a classmate.
So like the way that works is that kids are encouraged to experiment with each other, and then older kids are actually are encouraged to help lead or help like assist the younger kids with getting into
which is one of the creepiest elements.
It's just creepy.
So I taught first grade.
You're basically being inaugurated into this.
Yeah, and let's just say, first through fifth grade in the United States, and fifth graders are getting into shit. Like, that difference is pretty nuts. Like, stuff starts happening when you're in fifth grade, I think. Like, I know it was for me, like, as a
you
male.
Definitely, like, the difference mentally between a fifth grader and a first grader.
Where you're interested in people. And there were not tons of stories, but there's stories of kids being caught doing stuff. And it's like, like that really happened, and it's creepy and so disturbing. But in this book, and Asimov plays with like that's normal.
Yeah.
But so I'm saying though, with the esoteric Asimov point, I'm like, he's critiquing this. There's no way he's pro this, because I know the atheist types. There's no moral objective morality. Like, it doesn't come from God or anything. Like, he doesn't believe that.
It's definitely
I'm like, he doesn't believe it's good though.
It's painted
He's showing you that's bad.
as not being good, because we meet a couple different characters. So we have Fastoff, who ends up rejecting his daughter, and she ends up being all mad at him because she feels like this rejection ruins her. Kind of like being rejected by the first dude that you ever ask out, which, by the way, was a little dramatic because I went through a lot of rejections because I asked a lot of dudes out.
She's acting like...
Yeah, I do feel I'm like, yo.
But I think it's different.
I mean, okay, it's different because, what, it was her dad?
Yeah, well, that's something I think he did really well. Like, that's what I mean. He's critiquing...
but that it ruined her entire life?
Yes, because in their culture, he sexually assaulted his own daughter.
Okay.
That's what I was talking about before.
I forgot that this was your point.
Yeah, because which I think he does really well. But I'm like, guys, he's critiquing. I sympathize with Asimov a lot. I'm not saying sometimes the religious types annoy me. Like, we know exactly every single law that down to the thing because the book says so. And it's like, but then the moral relativists annoy me more, if I'm honest. Like, no, man, you can never say anything's wrong. We all just make it up culturally. It's just cultural norms. There's no such thing as right and wrong. It's like, okay, I'm going to write a scenario where you get to feel and live and talk to these characters in this hypothetical universe, and you tell me if that doesn't freak you out.
Yeah.
And that's what Asimov's doing. He's saying, I don't know how we determine right or wrong, but this shit seems wrong.
I know.
Because she's sexually, because in her mind, like in this culture, the same way we would look at somebody who molested their daughter, like he sexually assaulted her for the rest of her life. He screwed up her sex life for the rest of her life. That's how she feels in the book, because he failed, in their culture, he failed to give her a normal sex life. And in this case, normal means being taught by your own parents or close family friends and stuff like that.
Whoever you're with.
Or adult children, or like older children. The kids are all
together. So, technically if she had been
It could be an older brother.
Wherever the kids go, she would have been with all the other kids.
But it would have been an adult. Like, no matter what, it's implied it's always a pretty decent age gap.
Well, it implies that there's some kind of guidance.
Like 2 10-year-olds is messed up enough, but
I do think that happens too.
Yeah. But I think he was trying to stress that it seems more like it just seems natural. The older kids are more sexually active.
Yeah.
They're more expert at it. I mean,
they're basically encouraging.
It's like an apprenticeship. You want to learn welding from a person that's an older expert welder. So there's almost a moral burden, just like everything else in society. You want taught by people that are good at it. The people that are good at sex are going to be older people that know more about it.
This was literally what my dad...
Finish that sentence.
Yeah, let me finish.
Jesus Christ.
So my dad told me not to have sex in high school. Yeah. And the way he convinced me to do it was he said that no one knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
So let them experiment on each other so that by the time I eventually have sex, I'll actually have someone that knows what they're doing because they practice on someone else.
I told you our middle school teacher was roasting all the boys. Like they got little wheat peepees and they don't know how to do with it and they're not going to last long. And all the boys are like, what the fuck is going on? And that's a whole side note, but I'm like, yeah, we know what she's trying to do. She's trying to say, I know you're into it, but don't put it off for later. So yeah, it's the exact opposite as this society. And that's what I'm trying to say, guys. Asimov is not being morally neutral. This book pins you as an Asimov fan. Are you saying he thinks this is okay and moral relativism is okay and there's nothing inherently wrong with this? Or is he saying, I don't know, but I'm saying this ain't good? Like, I don't know how we come across...
crossing some wires.
Yeah, like, I don't know how we come to moral truths, but this seems to be one. I think he's doing that. If not, then have the balls to say he's pro this in a future society. Because everything else in the way this society is run, I hear actively being promoted by normal family and friends that just don't see that this is a conclusion of that. Like same with the eugenics thing.
They don't realize that the things that they want come at the price of this.
Yeah, with the eugenics
thing. We see more and more because we've been seeing more trends online of people being okay with like, why can't I have sex with XYZ? Why can't I have sex with...
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, because he does a great job. This is Asimov writing style. If you could explain it, like he picks the extremes. He's so good at like, so Solaria's bad because they're all like weird futuristic Puritans. They never want to see anybody, like they don't even want to see people in person. Whereas Aurorans are having free love with everybody. It's literally casual. Like there's nothing weird about just asking people if you want to have sex.
So if you read the forwards of the book, that the extremes that each book is supposed to be touching on is that Earth was a very human to low robot ratio where the culture didn't like robots.
Yeah, and then we go to the
Solaria
extreme.
was a very small human to large robot ratio where robots are embraced as like
humans are gross.
Yeah, humans are so disgusting. I'd much rather spend my life interacting with only robots.
Is that the guy freaks out, kills himself instead of seeing a person in the flesh.
Then the last book is supposed to be a balance between robots and humans. And really what we end up seeing as Asimov is basically like, I think we're going to end up having to abandon robots.
Yeah.
Because everything in his books leads to either we become so dependent on robots that as a society we start to have less people, which in a funny way is kind of what we're seeing. Like the more technologically based we get, we're seeing just birth rates declining in certain countries all of a sudden.
Yeah, the more technologically advanced country, the less kids you have.
So that's not a crazy hypothesis.
And especially once you get into space travel itself is going to impose this on you. You're going to have forced
we also have
birth control.
One of the things that's going on with the globalists isn't just that they want Aurora to go out and make other Auroras. It's that they want... It gets really complicated.
We're hitting every keyword for the algorithm. We're talking about the globalists. It's like Alex Jones.
This is what the group that Asimov named them. They're the Aurora.
He's right.
The Auroran globalists. Because they are globalists for Aurora.
But the difference, I do love the difference. I'm like, I am a humanist. That's exactly how, if I had to pick like a worldview. Go ahead.
But, so, the Auroran globalists, to mess with the algorithm.
Yeah.
They specifically want to send humaniform robots, which are basically like Daniils,
to go out. You can't tell the difference.
Yeah, you can't tell the difference between him and another person, which is like, it's a little fuzzy. Like you can,
yeah, exactly.
But whatever.
There's a few.
They want to actually take Daniil. They think Daniil's kind of a crude prototype. They want to send a more advanced version of him out to colonize. A planet and turn it into Aurora 2 and Aurora 3 and Aurora 4. But it's not just Daniil. They want to have these robots have such a mentality, like human mentality, that they want them to specifically have like men, female, and children robots and send them out.
Yeah, that's the holy grail. If you can have robots reproducing.
Yeah.
Like.
Well, no, they would just go out. I guess I understood that at least on a basic level. Even if you can't have the robots reproduce, they would go out. It would be like a set group where like X amount are women, X amount are men, and X amount are kids
like
forever.
Baby bots? Oh, okay.
Yeah, like they and you can do like family units.
But somebody talked about them reproducing, no?
Well, it would be ideal if they could reproduce, but I think on a basic level, if they could at least have it where conditions are created where even kids, kids' conditions are set. Yeah. But Bailey was like, I mean, if you have a robot child... What's the incentive to have a real one?
Yeah.
If it's exactly like a kid and it stays forever a kid, and you never actually have to raise a kid, and it's perfect kid.
Asimov has an esoteric, a hidden agenda, and also he's a Dharma saint. Because like I said, he literally, that's what I take away from him. It's like, you need the chaos. My point about even Hitler, like trying to like organize society down. All right, this will be perfect. We're going to go with this one people group and we'll just dial in and that'll be perfect. It's as soon as anybody starts trying to not have chaos, you lose all these intangible, unpredictable, even gains, like even according to their own agenda. Like
you really do.
You want to be a super high tech. If we just go Aryan, we'll have like the best advanced like physical technologies. It's like, nope, you got outclassed by Jews and Japanese and all these other guys. It's like, oh shit, like didn't see that coming.
Brush his hair.
Yeah. Like I know you got your ass kicked by a Jew that didn't brush his hair. Like I mean, that is poetic amazingness. A sleepyhead too. Einstein was like super aloof, like a bad student, and all these like funny anecdotes. And it's like, again, he's not the guy you would think, especially Hitler, if you had to pick who's going to be the guy that figures out the best thing. That's not who he would have picked. And that's what Asimov does a great job with. Like, why not just have a baby robot? Like, because, I don't know, man, because there's some intangible that comes with not having everything so rigidly predictable and finely tuned. And I want the baby, that model that never cries, that never poops, that never gets sick, that never gets hurt. I mean, the shit sounds nice to embrace chaos when nobody's dying, but of course, that's why this dynamic's going to be with humanity forever. As soon as you lose a kid, you're going to be like, fuck this, I want a robot.
Just making sure our kid's okay.
I know, our actual human kid. But that's why I have sympathy. That's why I think sci-fi is so great at this. Like, you know, like, this all makes sense. Really? You think it's so cool and romantic to go terraform Mars in person? Like the Martian movie? Like, how about we send robots to do it? And you just show up and you wave at your little robo neighbors with their little robo kid who's been 5 years old for 200 years. Yeah. Like, and they can fade away. And you just turn them off and let a real human family move in.
That wasn't even... So the globalists were saying that...
Like, I love they don't think that's going to build psychopathy in humans, that you turn off human or humaniform robots.
No, you wouldn't turn them off. You would just...
I know, send them to the next.
Slowly... No. You would just slowly have them start doing what they would do.
All of it. Any option would build a psychopathy in a human.
I'm like, this is just so weird.
You say you wave to your robot neighbors when you immigrate to, you know, Aurora 2, and then you have them be your servants, right?
Yeah, basically.
Like, all right. And then what the fuck's the 5-year-old servant doing? You know, turn his ass off. Like,
no, I mean, I guess you could do little things. I wonder if they'd have tiny little doors for him to like, here's your
whole little robot house. Yeah, but this is what I mean by it seems intelligent, but it's only intelligent at this 115-ish level. This, like, not very deeply. It's like, I get that you think you figured it out.
They also aren't going to make it. Like, you're going to get to that planet. You're not going to reproduce the way you think. You're not going to, like, keep up. Because I think there's this misconception of how much we need to reproduce in order to actually keep up and move forward. And
like, it lowballs it?
No, I think as a society, we lowball it. Like,
yeah.
Like, I think everyone just thinks, like, oh, we'll be fine. There'll always be someone making babies. Like,
oh, yeah.
Yeah, but, like, y'all don't understand. Like, as a species, we need to keep making babies for a lot of reasons.
Yeah.
For gene diversity, for the fact that, like, how many geniuses and actual, like, people that break through to the next technological advance, like...
Yeah, the ratio.
Yeah.
The civilization games, video games do well on this. Like, you just get a random genius that literally is like a way to jump.
Like, one every how many years?
Exactly.
Like, we don't get one every 2-3 years. It's not like every 20 years we get an Einstein. And it's not calculated. It's not... It
trolls your want to pin it down. Like I said, this Aryan stuff, and okay, you got outsmarted by Jews. And over here, racial theories and slaves, it's like, oh my God, how the hell did the slave smarter than you, the master with the better diet and the better, education background.
Not to even touch on, like, Asimov doesn't even touch on, like, societies that would maybe even blunt, like, I guess
on purpose, yeah.
I guess the Solarians might have, thought about it because they had such a control society at the end in the Foundation series where it was like 1,200 people.
You gotta write your own sci-fi. This is a great point. I don't know if Asimov plays this somewhere, but
what would you do with the genius on that planet? And rare as they might be,
I think the darker side. It shows that Asimov is a technology optimist. We were saying how his books in the 80s seemed to struggle because I think there's such a dark sci-fi. Your biggest books are like Neuromancer, Cyberpunk, darker.
His stuff isn't as
everything
dark.
Gets dark.
This was the only one that I was like, this is kind of twisted.
Yeah, I know, right? Just weird sexual stuff. But shit. That he doesn't play with in any of the books we read. Why wouldn't they retard, to use the real sense of the word, like actually put a threshold, like stop IQ advancement? Everybody thinks people are getting dumber, but actually all the studies show IQs are actually getting higher.
Technically use the eugenics to try to
pin it in. If you figured out the perfect society, then
keep
stop
everyone
everything.
The same.
We're stopping chaos, but
especially in somewhere like
progress
Solaria,
implies chaos.
Because the whole concept of Celeria, eventually, when there's only like 1,200 of them on the planet, is like we are all equally free. So that means you're all equally the same mental capacity. Like you're all equally. And then, we meet Jander in that series. I mean, Bander. Sorry.
Yeah, I know,
Jander's the one that dies in this one.
Asimov's bad naming.
Bander, who is a Solarian, and he tells you, I make the best oranges. I make the best this. I am the best at this. I have the biggest estate. I am the best. Yeah. But if they're all equal, doesn't that mean that kind of like
some are more equal than others?
Or like if you're the only one making oranges, doesn't that make you the best?
You're
by
also
definition?
the worst. Yeah.
Like,
you also have the worst oranges. That the Aurorans are children, ironically, for how much they're all like all these civilizations are distant from having kids, but to us, Earthlings in the real world, it's like I think Asimov is trying to get you to realize these people do come off as like little kids, like little.
I mean, it makes total sense though, because I guess
what a little kid lacks in the real world is chaos and responsibility.
I was gonna say that kind of now that we've become parents, I do kind of see, looking back, I'm like, yeah, there was a lot of things that I was not. I don't know how to explain it. I was
ready
childish
for life change.
No,
and then we just dick around and you have your own time. Yeah, you got all your free time to yourself.
You do whatever you
can
want.
Do whatever you want when you want. Yeah.
And I feel like that's kind of the Aurorans.
Even from single to being in a relationship, it's funny. I always say, I remember a conversation at I used to be in like a neuroscience lab, and the PhD student there who was doing all this crazy shit. I'm like, how do you do all this stuff? He's like, well, you have a girlfriend. He's like, you guys do stuff together. He's like, literally all my time is my time. I can do, jujitsu. I can do this. I can do that.
Yeah. Which, by the way, this is a side rant. If you're a parent and you're trying to like find a way to streamline your life, and you're looking at all these people that are like, I do this in 3 hours. I do, I have a 4-hour workday. I have blah, blah, blah. Ask yourself to look into whether they have children.
Yeah, no, it's
so
huge.
Many of these people do not have kids. They have, or they are not the ones taking care of their kids. I'm not talking about Elon Musk. That is not who I'm talking about.
Based and baby pilled. No, it is nuts. You start to realize so many people.
He actually is a different breed of person.
This is so random and unrelated. We were making fun of John Cena before we started, and I didn't realize he doesn't have kids. Like, you start to realize, you get a
There's
thing.
A lot of
Huberman
people
doesn't have kids. Like, all these people are telling you how to. Of course, this is not true.
Your life,
there are
how
people
to live
incredibly
your life.
more productive than us that maybe are great parents,
But I'm just saying,
but they're not. Ironically,
don't beat
they're
yourself
not some
up
of the biggest
because
voices.
you can't follow these people's specific schedules.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know that you can or can't follow Elon Musk's schedule. I also don't know that his schedule may or may not need a high IQ.
But to your point, I don't know that he is not having his like a good day-to-day dad. I don't know.
I don't know.
He might be, he might not.
I don't know these people, but a lot of these people that they're like, you wake up at 5, you have your coffee, you start
I gotta put the red light on my bowls. I gotta,
You have like a 3-hour morning. Like, no, bro. I wake up, I breastfeed. Like, the next thing I'm doing is I'm trying to feed myself so I can make more food. Then we're like making a bed, we're getting dressed, we're getting baby dressed, we're cleaning up a little bit. We got a little morning routine. We do a little bit of her stuff. We're like, play with her, read some books. We try to get some language skills in. Because, of course, it's not just developing me. I'm developing her. Yeah. And then, which I know, like, oh, you don't have to. You can have her do everything you do. But I also want to. I want to put time into developing her. It's not like I don't want to read with her, play with her a little bit. I actually do. Like, I didn't just make her to
as a job or something. You actually enjoy it.
I actually
These
enjoy
are actually
playing
super
with
rewarding.
her.
I know it's hack. Everybody says the same thing, but it's for a reason.
Then it is nap time. Got to put her down for a nap, whatever. So my day does revolve somewhat around my kid. Like,
which is
I can't just wake up and like do a morning coffee, a bullet journal, a half-hour workout, because she's also like wanting to do these things with me. Like, even if I wanted to do a half-hour workout, it's going to be an interrupted half-hour. It's not going to be a half-hour of fully focused, 20
optimized.
reps,
You gotta be
optimized with a 2-minute rest and all this other fucking bullshit.
That's why
that
cold
I could
plunge
have done
is only
before.
2 minutes, okay?
That's not the only reason why.
Yeah. But it's
and you can squeeze these things in. Just know it's not going to be at the level that these people do. And don't beat yourself up for it. That is my side rant.
And a lot of people have robot aids already. And that sounds super disrespectful. And it's like, because it is. Like, a lot of these people look at everything, even from foreign production. Like, let's let other people that aren't, us and people that we see in the day-to-day lives, this class that is so disconnected from like normal day-to-day work, like whether they have nannies, whether they have like, you got a robot nanny in the future?
There's already articles coming out on how all these technological advances on even baby monitoring, like
I'm using a robot right now. We're looking at a baby screen. So in a weird way, it's like I have a robot telling me if it's okay, if she's okay right now.
Just throwing out there a few things. There's like the owlet ankle. There's like a little ankle thing that goes around the baby's ankle, obviously.
First ankle monitor.
But yeah, it basically does like a heart rate. It monitors their temperature. It monitors.
So she's optimized.
Yeah, there's a baby monitor that monitors whether your baby's sleeping, whether they're breathing, how long they've slept, if they woke up at all, if they were able to put themselves to sleep with or without help, if they were crying, how many times they cried.
Like, I critique myself.
Then there's things like the snoo. So there's this thing called the snoo. For the people that don't know, it's basically a baby bassinet / sleeping crib. For people that don't have kids, there's a bassinet and a crib, but the snoo rocks your kid to sleep. So that to try to extend the sleep cycle of the child. Yeah. So
which is
all of
form
these
one
things,
of a robot.
Yeah.
A grandma would have done that. Like if we were a big extended family.
No, actually, your child was probably waking up because they biologically needed something.
Yeah, well, yeah, that too. Yeah, so you're saying, so we're already using tech to disrupt normal.
Yeah. The truth is that
biological cycles and we evolved
honestly,
out of.
I feel like some of it is already starting to affect us as a species, where a lot of things I'm seeing online is people having issues with milk supply, people having issues, or not people, women having issues with milk supply, women having issues.
Bigot.
Hell yeah.
We've already
embracing.
We've ruined the.
I'm sorry.
The algorithm is mad at us already.
But the truth is that by having something rock your child back to sleep at a time that they would have woken up to feed does make it so that you biologically, your body's going to say, oh man, I thought that it was time for that baby to eat now, but I guess they don't need that milk anymore.
Yeah, so it starts.
So you start
producing less milk.
Yeah, you start to produce less milk unless you wake up and pump. I have a total different side rant that can go with this, but I'm not going to get into it.
But it's sci-fi already. Sci-fi brought up in Caves of Steel that we need to have a merger of technology and organic life, carbon and iron, but we already do. I mean,
it's
literally
already happening.
That happened with the sword. The first sword was sci-fi.
And it is also affecting baby sleep, by the way. Like there are studies coming out showing that this isn't necessarily good for baby sleep. Like it's being advertised as the best thing for parents, but it's not necessarily the best thing for your child.
Yeah. And for the parents, we mean your employer.
Yeah.
Now before and that's you're gonna get all anti-capitalism. I mean your communist.
It's not just that
overlord too.
It is a lot of that, but there are also just parents that, because it's advertised that your kid should be sleeping through the night, you feel like if your child doesn't.
Yeah, but I'm saying that's just downstream of. I just invented a new. It's downstream of. We need your ass to get to work from 9 to 5. So shut the hell up and drink the formula. Have your full night's sleep. If you can't perform well at work, then you don't wake up at 4 to feed the baby.
I'm rusty on the article that I read, but I'm pretty sure that a lot of it was just saying that like these technologies are not the best at really understanding your child's needs.
Yeah.
Because each child is so nuanced. Because like some of it goes with like it can monitor whether a cry is a serious cry or whether they're just kind of like.
And this is where Asimov is right though. It's like, so then destroy all the technology. It's like, hold on.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Hold up.
Calm down. I still like my air conditioning and my lights.
Yeah, I like my air conditioner. I like that I am using my camera right now to watch her while she's sleeping. Yeah. Like I'm not. As soon as it tells me she needs help, I'm gonna go give her real human organic help.
And not even her. Like we don't have one of. I mean, we have a sophisticated monitor that we really use or plan to use more as she gets older.
Yeah.
But the monitor we have right now is like the
I'm
one
saying
they
to tie it
used.
back to Asimov, it's just the robots. So what? We should just destroy. Like, was the Foundation right and not having? Was the Empire right? I mean, and not
Yeah.
having any robots throughout. Like, I don't know. Maybe like I'm saying, I don't know what.
I mean, the Empire still at least had technology, and we still end up with the
but
Foundation.
specifically not
having,
robots.
No, it's specifically not
because
robots.
maybe that gap was too big and too. I don't know which one to call it. Like promising.
I mean, they have like computers.
Yeah, but that them being
They just don't
humaniform
have
as
human
well.
form. Yeah.
I think once you have a robot, you already built it in human form. It's a humanoid, and then you just say, you can put skin on it, make it look a little more human. The
once
uncanny
you're trying
valley's
to
so
actually
creepy.
replicate.
Yeah, you might as well make it look full human.
Yeah.
And then once you start doing that, you start banging the robots like Galadia. And once you start banging robots, you
Not
have
just her, the entire planet.
I know, they're all
Aurora
doing
was
it.
Like,
but I do think
No.
he's right, though, that you're going
Yeah.
to develop an emotional attachment to this thing. When
Yeah.
it looks like a person, it's nice to you. We see that with the...
where she thought it was. She thought of
there's
Jander as her husband.
There's a problem right now. We don't even have a moon colony, and we have, digital waifus. We have...
Waifu.
We got people banging robot, like, you can get a life-made porn star, like an actual
Yeah.
human robot body, a husk. It's like creepier than Asimov's version.
It's only getting weirder.
If my only thing is like, the reality is so much scarier than all of these sci-fis. You see this trope a lot with like, you think we're going to have Blade Runner, but it's going to be just like you banging the robot weird thing and like being a digital serfdom. Like it wasn't as horrific like on the surface, but it's like metaphysically more horrific. Like it's not as visually scary as like the Blade Runner scenes or like Terminator robots
it's
everywhere
just
shooting you.
literally terrifying.
Yeah. They're just killing your soul. But yeah, I guess to tie it back to the point is sci-fi's been around forever. It's going to exist. Your enemy's going to invent a sword. It's going to be sci-fi. It's going to be a human wielding iron to attack you. And all of these spacers have this weird, they see it as spacer versus Earth, but it's not. It's spacer versus spacer. It's all the worlds for themselves. And this whole trilogy is setting up how Earth is going to break out of this.
Yeah.
How the hell does Earth become the seed? Oh, and by the way, we know, damn it, I'm going to forget kind of the specifics, but do you remember there was a point in here where he basically says, if this happens, then what if the spacers just to turn on Earth and destroy Earth? I'm like, oh, okay, is that what happened? Because in the Foundation series, we find out that Earth is
That
radioactive
probably
and lifeless.
is basically what's going to happen.
Because we branched out, because
Yeah,
our shit worked.
Because the spacers know that if Earth is so prolific, because of our shorter lifespans, we literally are like little rabbits.
Yeah.
Kind of like the way you actually would look at an actual rabbit,
Like
where
the
they
Krogan
have.
from Mass Effect or something. I mean,
yeah.
they live longer too, which is really
But
kind of weird.
Honestly, just looking at any of the species that you might think as lower, like rabbits or cats or dogs, something that has a shorter lifespan but has like a bunch of babies and can have babies multiple times throughout their life and like a ton of them, or like a fish, they see us like that, where we're not a human anymore. We're some pre-human thing, but we're able to reproduce so quickly, and we're so voracious when it comes to expansion.
We're adventurers. That adventurer core.
Yeah. And we're tough. We're way tougher than they are. Like their idea of colonization is going to take years of building robots, years of advancing in technology, and then years of sending these robots out to then colonize the planets, and then we can go over there.
And they have hyperspace travel. So I'm like, if we had that now, we would. That's the only thing. It's just so hard to get into space. Those Boeing guys are stuck up there right now. Like we can't even figure out simple shit.
Yeah, let's all go buy ape costumes real quick.
I know.
I saw that.
She's
meme.
mentioning a funny meme. If you guys saw it, like this is the one chance, guys. If everybody dresses up as an ape, like when the when the astronauts come down. Look at the Planet of the Apes. But, that the humans end up successfully, obviously, spreading out and being the seed. They turn into the future empire from the Foundation series.
And they
but without
just
robots.
sprayed.
You want to talk about why it's without robots from Fastov? Or I think that'd be we talked about how...
I mean, we might as well.
Yeah. I'm saying you want to do like why... Where do you want to go next from the Galadia thing? We didn't talk about.
Oh, I guess
because she's not her.
I guess as far as book summary goes, we're going to talk to Gladia, who ends up seeing her husband, who sees a robot as her husband, and the robot all of a sudden dies.
Mm-hmm.
We find out that she was having conversations with someone who was presenting himself to her often.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that is the creepiest shit.
As we were talking about the baby, the real life baby has a...
Oh,
I don't know if you think it's a baby break or what.
no.
I think she's okay.
I feel like she's going back to sleep.
Okay.
But she was just, Freddie turns the baby monitor. She's just staring at
Mm-hmm.
her big old
She's like,
eyes.
my robot's watching me. Well, my parents.
So, I believe after Gladio, we talked to Fastolf's daughter.
Mm-hmm.
And she talks about how she was traumatized. And we find another connection to this guy that was kind of presenting himself to Gladia. And we find out that she may have kind of nudged him to go be with Gladia because Gladia and her actually physically look alike.
Yeah.
Then we meet this other character, which I find really kind of subtly interesting because he's supposed to be...
But yeah, you like monogamy?
Yeah, like I found it interesting. So he's like a roboticist designer, or like he's just a personal designer. Sorry.
He cuts hair, yeah, for the people there.
Well, no, he's not just a hair
I know,
cutter.
it's
He's
the
an
whole-
actual like a stylist,
Yeah,
like a
wardrobe,
personal
everything.
stylist.
Mhm. What
But
we need.
he works on the literally. As
We
I
need
look
this
at my
We need this high
my
tech.
dirty ass hair
Mm-hmm.
that I cut myself
The Amazon stylist ain't cut it.
in like a messy ass bun.
Mm.
So he's a stylist that lives on the Roboticist Institute because he's basically a stylist for the roboticist because
Because it's the
whatever
Google
reason-
campus.
Yeah, they feel like they need him.
Mhm.
Um,
They got a whole little city.
he does everything from like cutting hair to like your hair should be this color to,
Mm.
and he has a bunch of little nuanced shit he talks about. But basically, he kept wanting to sleep with Vasilia, which was Fastolf's daughter, because he found out she was a virgin, and he's like
Yeah.
super obsessed with this idea of sex is way too nonchalant
Yeah, he hates
on the
their
planet.
promiscuous culture.
Yeah, he really wants to just be monogamous with someone, but because the culture has such an openness to sex,
Mm-hmm.
because it really is just a casual like, yeah, I did it, and then we moved on.
Yeah.
So that bothers him. So he found out she's a virgin, and he thought if I could just have her to myself forever, that would be the greatest thing in my life.
Yeah.
Then Gladia came in from Solaria, and she had sex with a few people, but she doesn't want to have sex with a bunch of people. She doesn't like this promiscuous life either. So she was able to turn him onto her.
Yeah.
And he started, like, on top of the fact that they work closely together because she's a robot designer. Like, she designs the clothes for the robots. He designs clothes for people. So they kind of, like, work together to,
Yeah.
you know, like artists. They just...
They're in the same building.
Yeah.
Same, like I said, the campus, really.
So he goes on walk, like, when
I
he
know
would
she goes on these long walks
try
again.
to, like, sleep with her, she would kind of say no, but she would say, oh, do you want to go for a walk? Which, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So they would go on these long walks, and he was just getting to know her. And honestly, he still really, really loves her or likes her, but he also just enjoys her company. He doesn't want to lose her as a friend.
Yeah.
So I find him subtly interesting because he is into this monogamous.
It's Asimov. I mean, he hates these religions and stuff, but I'm like, it's why I always bring up. I love the concept of the Holy Spirit. There's this enigmatic force that pops up and guides. Where does this morality come from? Like I said, moral relativism is insane to us. We have an intuition against this stuff, but where does that intuition come from? I don't know. Like, it does seem supernatural and external. It doesn't seem culturally driven because you get these people that pop up. I mean, like I said, I was mentioning the 30s Germany. I was mentioning our, slave past and all that. But there's people that are against it. And it's like, where do they get this idea that this is wrong from? If you grew up with this stuff, if this is all normal to you and it's all explained very rationally and it makes sense from their logic, and yet people are against it. Like, where the hell does he get this idea of monogamy? It's Asimov playing with, and he does critique Earth culture. They're like, oh, so once you're married on Earth, no one ever has sex outside of marriage. He's like, we
he does say in
pretend that that's
theory.
true. Yeah, he
In
literally goes
theory.
in theory. He's like, but there's something to keeping up the pretend, and that she's like, that's stupid. Like, that's so
'cause
strange.
One of the things that happens
Why aren't they just
is
more honest?
Lydia and Bailey finally get it on.
See, your womanly intuition was correct. Now,
I've been
think
calling her a hussy for a minute.
she was so mad in the last book that she's a, what do you call it, a home wrecker and all this
She's a
stuff.
home wrecker.
And Bailey, my dog, he doesn't hold it down.
Bailey
it's
totally
not,
was like, yes,
I
come
love
wreck this home.
my level of morality. I'm like, all right, dude, whatever. But then he's like, he has to tell her, like, I wish the whole earth could just be gone and this and that. And I'm like, your wife and kids are on Earth, you maniac. This is why women don't. This is why they have such a visceral hatred of hussies.
Yeah.
Because it's not like the dude logic, like, relax, I'm not fucking leaving the family. She's a space alien lady. The mission required me to have sex at time. It's not.
Or like,
I hope Earth falls into a black hole.
And
It's
it wasn't
like,
even
Jesus
like,
Christ,
look,
Bailey.
I was away from you. I was light years away from you.
I was
I didn't
Randy
know
and
when
she
I would
attacked
be
me and
back.
I didn't say no.
Like,
Yeah.
I just succumbed to a
Mhm.
moment of weakness. No, I fell in love with this woman.
And he maintains it over the days later. It's like, Jesus
he
Christ,
dreams
dude.
about her after he goes back to Earth.
Yeah.
He thinks about her all the time. He's
It's like,
fully
this is
in
why
love
we
with
can't
her.
have nice things, Bailey.
And then he's
because-
like, honestly, Earth can go to shit as if I can just live with
He
you
literally
forever.
says that. I forget
Like,
the exact wording, but he
great,
literally
bro.
said, I wish it could just not. I wish
I wish I didn't have to go back and Earth would just die.
It's like,
and
well,
you and I
that's
can
what
just
all
live
women
for it,
fear.
like-
Dudes are secretly saying to their space hussies. Like, well,
It's why we don't trust them.
these
Because
men
Freddie
ain't
always
loyal.
makes fun of me, and I'm like, listen, it is built in my DNA to not trust a hussy.
Yeah, especially a space hussy.
And we've actually had one try to move
These
in on my
hussies.
turf.
Yeah, these hussies are
Thankfully,
abundant.
my husband is so...
Is a goofball.
He had no idea.
I had all the ideas, but I'm still a goofball.
I love you, though.
Yeah, I love you too. And she was a hussy, let me tell you.
She was.
Point is, Bailey. We're talking about Bailey right now, okay? And he really does ruin it. But to your point, it's like, I know, right? Jesus Christ. This is why, though. But he does this weird 1950s man thing. I know it was written in the 80s, but it still was written in that Asimov style. Like, it's like, I gotta be strong for my family that I hope dies in a fucking black hole.
No, he literally...
But I gotta go back.
It's not just that.
And
Lady
he
is
pawns
like,
her off on another man, though. I gotta say, like, for all the wokies that we make fun of, I was like, he literally is doing the, like, most toxic man trope. He's like, but also this guy is a creep and who's really into you. You should go shack up with him because I gotta go.
You also
I got a wife
forgot.
and kids.
He was
Crazy
like,
bitch.
by the way, I know that this was the greatest experience of your life, hussy, because you never had this kind of amazing sex with anyone else and you're clearly in love with me. But can we keep this on the DL? Because my wife can't hear about this.
Oh, yeah. He's like, I got a reputation to maintain on Earth, hussy.
Yeah.
Side piece. You stay in space.
It was great, but like,
And
I
I
need
think
you
you should go
to
shack
never
up with,
speak of this ever again
yeah.
because if my wife hears about it, I'm doomed.
But him, like, saying that, like, he's a good man. And, like, it was kind of a weird, that what I think people, the more wokey types,
He also
are
gives this
correct
kid
about.
advice because the kid's, he's like, are you going to keep trying to sleep with Gladia? Yes. I think that instead of trying to sleep with her, you should just force yourself onto her and kiss her.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean by, like, I was like, all right, dude. Like,
And
I
then he goes to her and he's like,
roll my eyes at
I
toxic
have a feeling he's going to
masculinity.
do something different. So open yourself up to it.
Yeah, he's literally trying to be matchmaker, though, but to get himself, to make sure she is attached
Yeah,
and
to
not
someone.
snitching in out here. Like,
He literally tells her, be happy without me because that's all I want for you.
yeah, but it is like it's so that she doesn't come running back to him because she'd be breaking up
She's
with this
literally like, I'll come to Earth and I'll die with you.
guy. Yeah.
And he's like,
He's like, hold on.
"Oh,
Jesus
wait.
Christ.
I didn't think you were actually,
Yeah.
thought you were just going to be okay with staying
Mhm.
here the rest of your life.
Yeah. He's like, now, side piece. You stay in line.
The side pieces stay on the side.
Yeah. You
Madam.
stay on this side of the galaxy.
Yeah.
Bailey can't even
If
keep
I-
an intergalactic
If
side
I
piece.
can't hyperspace jump to you,
Interstellar side
if you can,
piece.
if I can hear your
The
voice when
interstellar.
I go home, we're in trouble.
So yeah, he plays with that. That wasn't like super big arc, but really the whole thing of the book is, I love how we haven't got to the Giscard.
All right, wait. So we left off with, we talked to the daughter. We talked to this kid that I can't pronounce his name for the life of me. Gary is something or other. Then we talked to the head of the Robotics Institute. And he's going to basically be talking to Bailey, and he's going to just really eat up at Bailey's time, and he's going to set Bailey up like if he's winning the argument where he's painted it where Fastoff would have his robots even kill someone to protect an Earthman, and he's basically making it feel like he's gotten Bailey into a trap, and talking to him was actually a bigger mistake than if he would have just not spoken to him, because he just wanted to talk to him to see what he thought about this stuff. But in the time that he's there, he sees that this guy's got some predatory looks at Daniil, and he feels like, even though he's very smiley, and he even grabs him. So this is like the first time all the other spacers have kind of kept their distance a little bit.
Even here.
Like Fastoff's daughter made him sit like across the room from her. The other guy was, Gary was in the room with him.
Because they know he's been clean, but they are scared of disease.
I mean, it's just also, they find him icky. The truth is that they also find Earthmen to be kind of disgusting.
You touched on it earlier. It's literally the hominids, like the other human types. It's literally, it's not to them.
He's
they're not
he's
human.
subhuman.
We are like Homo erectus or a Neanderthal. Yeah. Like, it's kind of like us.
And it doesn't help how we live. Like, even Bailey starts to realize that by living on Aurora for even the couple days that he's there, because this book is,
it's 2 days, 2.5 days or something, not even 2 days.
It's like 50 hours he's on this fucking
The
planet.
book is 15 hours, I think, on audio, which is almost like, it's only ridiculous. 48 hours long in like the actual real. Yeah. That's so funny.
So Bailey starts to be like, oh man, if I have to continue to use these private bathrooms, like, I'm never going to be able to go back to living communally, and like everything is so clean here. And like back home, where I imagine it's like communal shit now, where like someone clearly missed the fucking toilet, or like someone left something behind.
But to his credit, it does like the like I said, like positive communal, like
he does.
It's sci-fi. They're in caves of steel, but they do have a weirdly better sense of I don't know what you want to call it, a family.
I think that's just why he starts to realize like maybe
bonds.
Colonization is what the best thing for Earth, where we can have just a little more space and have a little more privacy in some sense, but we can still have our families.
Like, they actually know their neighbors. They know everything about their
neighbors.
neighbors. Like, they see them at lunch, and I'm sure it's annoying.
It's
and
a
maybe
very
they
gossipy thing.
Yeah. But I mean, but he sees, like, I get that there's annoyances that come with that, but there's something that you lose.
Then he's on these planets where these people don't know each other, or they know each other very unwell, like surface level.
That's why Asimov is a very human writer. Like, a very humanist. The hero is the humanist here. The Fastoff, as much as he has flaws.
But so this guy, he's got Giscard and Daniil with him while he's interviewing all these people, and this guy, he's like really trying to eat away at Bailey's time, and Bailey's like trying to get back to Fastoff so that he can like kind of regroup and go over everything, because in speaking to this guy, he's basically kind of stepped in it, and this guy supposedly has sent a memo to the chairman of the planet, because the way that it works for anything related to Aurora is that, like, whenever there's an internal dispute again amongst legislators, because Fastoff's a legislator and so is this guy, the chairman comes in and does like a private kind of like debate.
Yeah, they touch on this thing in history. They had a big old.
They almost had a civil war because they like couldn't decide on something really stupid.
Yeah,
that's the easiest way to describe it.
It's so unrealistic. What a crazy scenario, sci-fi writer, man. But that's why they've really enshrined this position. It's almost like a holy thing. Like, he needs to be objective. Like it's super Supreme Court. Like,
so like if Freddie and I were both legislators and we had something that we disagree upon, instead of openly having the media, we don't take it
to CNN or Fox and bitch it out.
Like, we actually go. The chairman comes over to like one of our houses.
Yeah,
we all meet up in basically in a shared space, and he's going to hear your side, he's going to hear my side, he's going to hear any evidence related, and then he's going to decide either immediately or upon review on what side's going to win, and then basically whoever's side loses has to silently concede defeat, and the votes will be swung in the direction of the winner.
Yeah, I guess I mean holy because I compare it to like it's really not like presidents in like American politics. It's more like the Pope. It's like they can have all kinds of differing opinions, but you can't express them publicly at a certain level. They have issues I see online, like some guys not excommunicated, but get in trouble because they're being too against the Pope. It's like, hey man, you would, and they always say like it's not. You can have a million opinions. You can bitch all you want with like the other leadership, but to do it publicly,
it so that like
you make the office look bad.
It's not just you make the office look bad. You also have people picking sides out in public and
they don't
creating
want
a bunch of like social unrest that we don't need.
And that's why Asimov knows his history. I'm like, you don't want another Protestant movement, another civil wars all through Europe because of Catholics versus everybody else. It's like,
and in this case, they would actually because it is cool. When we finally do meet the chairman, he shows up and he's like, "Look, I know you're calling me in to stop this investigation on this fucking bullshit robot dying. The truth is, robots don't die on this planet. It's just a piece of property. And y'all just want me to decide on whether we should let Earth expand into the colonies or whether we should let the globalists and Aurorans only expand. Like, let's just be real." And I thought he was the coolest fucking person that you speak to on this entire planet.
He is the reader because the reader's like, can we get to the point? This is the main meat of the book here.
Oh man, I like highlighted one part where one of the characters was like, "Am I gonna have to sit through some long, drawn out exposition?" I was like, "Yes."
Yeah, we have.
We all have. So buckle up.
Because these books, I've said it a million times, but these books were twice the size of normal Asimov books because he was getting paid more to write, and I think they know they can charge more for a bigger book. It just seems, you don't want to pay the same money for a little book.
It's not confirmed, but that's our hypothesis because there's literally like the chapter of Gladia and then Gladia again, or again Gladia, and like Vasilia again, Jeremy again. I can't say his name.
Choice, but yeah. But so the guy comes in and he's gonna force this issue of how should we travel through space.
However, before the chairman comes in, because the chairman's been basically the head of the institute, the robotics institute, is like, don't worry, I basically told the chairman, so we're probably going to be meeting with him by tomorrow, and you're probably going to be off the planet in like 24 hours. And so Bailey's like, great, so I got to get going. And the roboticist is like, wait, before you go, why don't we spend time doing this, that, and the third?
Oh, yeah.
And Bailey's like, I mean, I really just would like to leave now. Because the roboticist confessed a bunch of stuff, like you saying that he started the institute because he wanted to get all these scientists together so that they can like do a pool, because a pool of like knowledge. Because on Earth,
we did kind of skip over. This is a good part.
This is important. On Earth, because everyone lives on top of each other and is so communal, we already share knowledge. Like, kind of like,
and we don't live as long.
Yeah, we don't live as long, so we literally leave breadcrumbs like, hey, here is what I was working on in case this helps anyone else.
And they all acknowledge it. We talked about Einstein before, but he wouldn't say he did this all on his own. There were so many people that came close and even maybe cracked it. Go ahead.
So, whereas on Aurora, because these people live so long and because they're so independent, we have people like Fastov who come up with theories on and like create like the humaniform, the human robot.
Yeah.
And he hasn't like allowed anyone to know the internal intimate theories or mathematics behind how he did it, designed it, how it works. He's kept it all to himself. And so they've built this institute to try to do what he did, but even an institute with I don't know how many people in it.
One of the greatest lines. I'm sure you got to highlight him, don't look for it, but where he's like, this guy acts like he's hot shit. And he's like, well, you got 1 million people here and you haven't figured it out.
Yeah. So and he's like,
it's kind of funny.
Because they're literally like, all right, so with your 1 million people, do you have anything in production? Do you have anything prototype? Do you have anything in the like drawing lines about to be in production? He's like, nah, we don't have any of that.
It's not millions, of course, but it's dozens, at least maybe hundreds.
It's a few. And what's funny is he does go into like a timeline. He's like, the institute's been open for like 2 years. I'm like,
I know he does say it's only been. He's like, relax, we haven't been cracking this.
But like
for
officially, they have been like trying to recruit people for a minute. So
as soon as anybody makes something, everybody else tries to figure it out.
So he's trying to like get Bailey to stick around to listen do like a tour of the Institute. And while he's trying to get Bailey to stick around, you're hearing this like a giant boom.
Yeah.
And but there's no rhythm to it. It's just happening occasionally. And when they finally break away and open the door, they find that there's this huge thunderstorm outside. And Bailey's never experienced a thunderstorm that intimately before. You can't even hear thunder within what they call the cities or the caves of steel on Earth. So he's never experienced thunder, let alone freaking lightning.
Which is the coolest. I think this section has some of the best writing from him.
Yeah, this is literally if you condense.
Well, yeah, of course. Just pick up the book halfway through.
All of the interviews, like basically, it's interesting until he lands on the planet and starts talking to Fastov. Condense all the interviews between Fastov to when he leaves the Institute, and then the rest of it you're good to read.
Yeah, but I mean, like actually stylistic. Like Asimov is mostly interesting for the ideas, but this is actually written well, and the emotion in Bailey being exposed later. And I'm jumping ahead, but
no, I mean, but it starts right there. Actually, like he actually when he experiences, he either hears thunder or sees lightning. I don't remember which, but he literally freaks out and cowers in fear.
Yeah,
like
because they did so good about it. He was doing so good.
Together.
He walked outside. He walked across this campus thing. He walked from one of the
super
houses.
Super proud of himself.
Yeah, he's out in the open now, which induces panic to all Earthmen basically.
But this has him like regressing.
This has him looking like the Solarian guy freaking out about
like
seeing a person.
sucking his thumb and shit. Not literally, but that's kind of the vibe. So Giscard goes and gets
the whole
car.
thing on if people have ever been hit by lightning. He's like, I'm pretty sure that's a thing. In the ancient history,
he has no idea.
People used to get just fucking hit by the sky.
Because
it's so crazy.
What had happened was Giscard goes and gets the car, and him and Daniil, he like is almost passing out when they like put him into the car, and so they're driving, and like the winds are so strong that they're actually like pushing this car that's usually AI driven.
Yeah,
like this car usually doesn't have to be even piloted. But Giscard actually has to take over the driving of this car so that it's not literally being pushed around by the wind. And he's like,
which is a beautiful parallel. The robot has to get in, like the chaos element. It's too much and it's inevitable. Like it's a simple storm is enough to throw off these perfect air quotes, AI cars and even the robot, and you got to take manual control.
Yeah. So Giscard is able to like drive, and then all of a sudden he's like, yo, the car is not operable. And
hey, yo.
Daniil's like,
Bailey.
are you sure? And he's like, oh yes, very much sure. We are going to be stopping momentarily.
Which is
permanently
an insane sentence. Like he does a great job of like, that's not normal. That is crazy talk.
He's like, and Giscard can tell. He's like, I can tell when it's something that was just a malfunction, but the car has been.
Oh yeah, that's right. And he says that so plainly, so funny. Like, this has to be like somebody basically sabotaged us.
Yeah, and Bailey's like, why?
I'm being attacked in a space car, basically a
like
futuristic
in the middle
flying
of
car.
A thunderstorm, which, by the way, Bailey accidentally forgot to tell them to opacify the windows because he had told them that he wanted to not opacify the windows so he could face the storm. And then this car breaks down and like the windows just it's just open out to the world.
He was not very brave.
No. So he realizes, because Giscard's like, not only is the car messed up, but we're being followed. So he actually tells Daniil and Giscard to get out and run. He's like, I need y'all to run and hide somewhere safe. Like, get the hell away from here and make sure. He's like, Giscard, make sure no one gets Daniil.
Yeah.
Because he's realizing that that's who they're really after.
Yeah.
So they send Giscard and Daniil out. They go out into the storm. And it's just Bailey alone in this fucking car.
Yeah.
And he's so not used to this planet, he doesn't know how to open the door.
Yeah.
He's just trapped with this like window out into the storm, like watching fucking lightning and thunder,
literally bolts
and
of
rain
death raining down,
and just freaking out. And then he hears he feels the door open because he's like in and out of consciousness, and a bunch of freaking robots just I picture it like the robots from Clone Wars, specifically the ones that.
Like the B2s? Yeah.
The ones that have the red eyes.
Yeah.
They're like...
Yeah, the big blue, big guys?
Yeah.
Yeah, the B2s?
No, not the B2s.
Who?
They're the ones
The commando ones? The one...
No, they're the ones that they wear, like, it looks like a...
Not the rollies, not the droidicas?
No, or the ones that, like, impersonate you, or... And the ones that, like, they have the staff.
Oh, okay. The IG-100 Magna droids.
Yeah.
The ones, yeah. Okay. That's what you pictured? Why, just the two beds?
I don't know. No, because he says that there was just a bunch of red glowing eyes everywhere.
Oh, okay. I can see that.
So, because the door opens and basically Bailey looks over and the robot's just like, hey.
What you doing, you Earth man?
I thought you were with two robots.
Yeah.
And Bailey's like, I could tell that they had very strong commands to look for the robots, because any robot without the command overriding their normal operations would have noticed that I am sick as shit.
The first and most natural and obvious thing is a human is in trouble.
Yeah.
So it should have been trying to help him first.
Yeah.
So someone who knows robots too, you probably couldn't do like a casual order.
No, this is like a very powerful command from someone that knows about
manipulating robots almost like a good logic. Like, you know, they're all based off programming. Yeah. So like a logically worded, like if this, then this, like, so somebody gave him, you know, verbal programming.
Yeah.
That's
so
strong.
The robot's like, where are the two robots you were with? Because we were told you were with two robots. So that's kind of weird. Awkward.
Yeah. We're just curious.
Oh, are you okay, by the way?
Yeah. And then they ask.
And Bailey's like, I'm fine. My two robots ran back. They're probably going back to the Institute. You should probably go look for them. It would be nice if you could give them a ride back because our car's broken.
Yeah.
The robot's like,
Roger.
Yeah. Basically. Robot's like, good idea. So it and all of its homies, because there's like a bunch of robots that were sent out to capture Daniil.
The squad.
Leave. Giscard comes back. I would like to point out.
Giscard.
Because Bailey puts his foot in the door before it closes, and he's like, man, I could lose my foot this way, but it's worth it. He doesn't, but he is able to kind of push the door open. And then he gets out and wanders into the forest. And this is where you have that line you were talking about where he's touching a tree. And he's like, I think trees attract lightning.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So should I not be under a tree? Should I be under a tree?
Yeah.
How does this work? I think I'm going to die.
Yeah. And get struck down.
So he wanders off into the woods. And somehow he knows that Giscard's going to find him. Giscard does in fact return, retrieves Bailey. And he also notices that there's a bunch of footprints by the car. Robotic footprints.
Yeah.
And he returns back to the place of refuge, which happens to be Gladia's house, because that happened to be the closest house to them.
Running through the woods.
Gladia actually went out with Giscard to get Bailey, but, you know, so she helps, like, dry him up in the car. She's like, it's going to be okay. I love you so much.
Yeah, I want to touch on, like, but that specifically... We get Bailey who couldn't in the first book imagine a person going outside the city to sneak into Spacetown. Like, but he does such a good job. Like, there's mud. Like, he's literally getting soaked by rain. The wind's in his face. The lightning death bolts are striking
He's
down.
all muddy. He like falls in like a puddle. He thinks he's going to drown. I know someone that this happened to, but...
Oh, wow. So he's literally covered in all of this chaos of nature in the wet. And I do really think that that's why the wet symbolism, the whole, he's being reborn.
I mean, just overall, most...
A nature storm baptism.
Yeah, a lot of times rain is a sign of baptism or change in a character. Like,
yeah, washing, cleansing.
Yeah.
But it's just done, this twist that he does so well with, like, but he's so afraid of nature. It was so brave and strange that he was leaning up against a tree.
He does literally. So, like, after this experience, he decides that he can face. He goes, because he wasn't sure he would actually be able to face colonizing a planet. And leaving Earth. But after experiencing the storm, he's like, no, I can do this.
He experiences one thunderstorm. He's like, I can do anything.
I am capable.
And this is why Floridians are tough, folks.
Yep.
We're gonna be the spacers.
We make it through hurricanes. Yeah, what do y'all have? Tornadoes, earthquakes?
Yeah, what do y'all have? Much worse things?
Mudslides?
What do y'all have?
Everything that can kill y'all without
literally
warning.
Kills more people.
Ours literally is like, hey, yo.
We get like a
we're gonna be there
week's
in like,
worth of warning. Yeah.
I'm going to be there in like a week.
We literally party.
Grab your supplies. Also, I will let you know whether I'm strong or not.
Yeah, it's going to be the snow dwellers that do well in space. But I'm going to talk my shit. Florida. But yeah, so now he's at the hussy's house, all wet and muddy and sticksy.
And she totally takes advantage of him because he's in such a state.
I actually, for all this writing...
He goes to sleep and she goes and finds him fast asleep in his bed and takes advantage of him.
But again, he can't have nice things because he literally, I was like, look, man, he's playing with like, he's barely conscious. He's half awake. And then she's rubbing on the woody and, getting him all going. It's like, come on. But then he literally is like, he makes fun of himself that he is being a coward. Because he's like, she's doing it to me. I'm not actually, cheating. I'm being attacked. I'm a victim, actually. But then he's like, all right, that's lame. He's like, and then to her, he's like, I could put it down. He's like, I don't have to sit back and do it.
Because she goes over there and she's like, don't move. I'll do everything. Mm-hmm. And he's like, I mean, I can do some things.
Yeah.
Like, because she's like, you're so tired. You need your rest. Mm-hmm. I'll take care of you. And he's like, I mean, I can take care of you too.
Mm-hmm. He's a victim. Mm-hmm. But she actually needed them saying, I think he did really well with the character writing here.
I get that she needed this.
Yeah, I mean, the whole hussy thing is still a real thing. But I'm saying that what you finally find out is that even with her robo husband, with his super wiener 5000, like, you would think this is perfect, but she realized that there's no give and take. The robot's so perfect that she can't fill any void on his end.
Yeah, all it does is give to her and give to her and give to her.
Yeah.
And then when Bailey came and she has him in her house and she's got him in a robe and shit, she's giving him soup. She like gives him a soup and she's like, oh, that felt nice to do, to give him something. Mm-hmm. And then he's like talking to her and she starts having, because I think he mentions that he had to tell people that she had a husband, or I don't remember what it was, but she goes into some crisis, some womanly crisis, and he's like, oh, dang it, don't cry.
Oh, yeah.
Please don't cry. And then he's like, oh, I have to sit down. Just give me a second. I'm really freaking out right now. Like, I'm still getting over the fact that I literally went through one of the most traumatic things in my life.
You understand what mud is?
Just give me a seat. Like, give me a second to sit and collect myself. Mm-hmm. So she realizes she just constantly takes from him and she could be giving more. So she decides to give herself the best prize of all.
Yeah. Not humble brag. But I think it made sense and it was good for the character.
It made sense. She learns to give and take, and then later on, when he's trying to pawn her off to the other guy, she's like, but he doesn't know how to give and take like you do.
But he will.
Hussy. My beast, not human guy. And he's like, he will if you teach
Beauty and the
him.
Beast. Yeah.
He can learn.
Because again, the dynamic, I was making fun of all the women novels where the hottest but also smartest, and he's like a werewolf man and all this like shit. Literally, he growls is like made fun of from all you lady books.
Don't you touch that fucking line.
The book husbands.
As someone that reads smut on the side, in between the sci-fi.
I'm like, what the fuck does that mean?
It is one of the
But that was in here. He says he growls. There's somebody growled in one of these Asimov books. I remember laughing at how...
Not in the way...
Not the way the book husbands do.
I'm going to send you the meme. So there's a meme out there for anyone that's curious of, oh my God, the original Witcher actor.
Oh, yeah.
And they're like, when... What it means when they say by he growls. No, it is not a dog. But that meme is great.
Wow. See, that's why you can't trust these women. That's why you got to have a space hussy on the side, folks. Telling it here, folks. First, it's game theory. They're gonna have these Witcher hussies on the side. So you gotta get you some space action. All right, she's looking at me funny. I'm fearing for my life. Let's keep it moving.
I mean, it's a book. You had your book, and look what she did.
Look what I'm doing in real life. You gotta throw them off by doing goofy shit, folks.
Oh my God.
Smoke screen. So, so she sexually assaults her boy.
Yeah,
he was purely a victim, and
not really.
And He really could have sold it if he didn't have to be such a man about it. He's like, I could throw it down right now, and I want to.
I mean,
I'm
literally
perfectly
the next
complicit
day,
in this.
There's this whole awkward thing the next day where Daniil's like,
Go ahead.
what?
No, you're good. You're good. She just did the creepiest movement.
That's what you get
Her
for
little
talking about hussies.
baby girl on the camera. Yeah, really.
She knows her dad's being a hussy.
All right. So then, yes.
So the
she's
next
all
day,
into it.
Daniil's like, lady, I would like for you to wear this at dinner. And he's like, oh, she's making me pretty and shit.
I picked up on that. I made fun of that.
Bailey's like, all right, I'm going to just shave and get nice for her.
She literally was around when I was listening to that part. I was like, she's dressing him already. Like, literally the morning after. Like,
she's like,
great.
Moving in.
Yeah.
On Jesse's turf.
Mm-hmm.
His actual wife, but for anyone that doesn't know.
Yeah.
So he like goes to have breakfast with her, and the most interesting part of that breakfast is that they go and they sit in a robot-free room.
Yeah. Intimate. Peak intimate.
Yeah. That was the most interesting part.
As a Solarian, too.
And then that's where he tells her not to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
So then he basically goes back to Fastoff's house, talks to Fastoff for like 2 minutes, and then the chairman shows up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this is where we get our big showdown.
Yeah, this is where we get this huge showdown.
Which I was saying is peak Asimov writing, which is he does this. Everything has to end with like a trial, like a big grandstandy, like almost Sherlock Holmes or this person giving the speech at the end and how it all makes sense.
The chairman was cool as hell.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not even gonna say that he wasn't.
Are you looking for quotes?
I wanted to, but if
you can find them, it's
really
it's cool. Yeah, he did come up. Even in the voice actor for it is really good too. Holy smokes! I gotta do my audio attack. Sorry, folks. Yeah, the voice actor guy was great, and he does a good job of seeming resigned. They make a whole line about how they're grumpy at this age. He's been this basically Supreme Court political, tiebreaker guy. He's been doing it so long that they always get a little curmudgeon-y. But fair. They do a good job of when Bailey starts making good points, he does kind of be like, urge. Well, God damn it. Basically, like, that's what's your counter? Jesus. He's like, this Earth man really is a good detective. We haven't mentioned the funniest part of this whole book before you get into all them. I actually really love the whole everybody has seen the space thriller movie that was based on the Solaria.
I do love that.
The events of book 2 become a movie.
Everyone has
or a show series
about this fucking movie, and it's hilarious.
And Bailey's played by like Brad Pitt or some shit. So when they meet him, they're like, "What? Ew."
Yeah, they're like, "What is happening?"
Yeah, like you're not.
One guy was like, "I mean, I expected you not to look like that."
I didn't expect you to be this ugly. Jesus. Like, I don't know.
A bunch of people were like, "I mean, the guy they picked for Daniil must have not even been an Earth actor."
Yeah. Like they don't have gyms or eugenics on Earth apparently. Jeez.
Well, I don't know.
That sludge food isn't working for you. You're good? Yeah, you're not worried about the quote? I mean, yeah,
I'm
you
not
can just
too
get into
worried
it.
about
Okay. So you can just get into the convos. They basically lay out the murder. The whole thing pivots on the robots. Somebody had to tell the robots to hunt down Daniil because, because he literally left the Robo Institute.
So At first, the chairman really isn't thinking that Bailey has much of anything going on, but Bailey brings up how he went to go see Amadiro, which was the Robot Institute, head of the institute, and how he got stalled, and how it was on purpose, and how he was approached by robots, and everyone's like, "You don't have any proof of this," which, by the way, that was like biggest loophole. They're like, "There's no proof of this because you didn't have either of your robots with you to record anything." I'm like, Giscard literally shows up and there's like a shit ton of footprints around the car.
Yeah.
That would have counted as evidence, seeing as how he would have just recorded that. It's not like he'd be a witness.
Yeah.
Anyway.
That's a good point. Okay.
Literally not brought up at all.
Mm-hmm.
Like they make a point of saying that Giscard saw the footprints and then they just don't touch on it. So I'm like, did you lose a thread there? Anyway.
Yeah. Interesting.
So then Bailey's like, well, the reason is that, like, then he presents that he really thinks that the robots were under command to just grab Daniil and, they were just going to grab him because he was with Daniil. But the whole idea was to have Daniil taken to the Institute. Then he's like, the chairman's like, all right, kind of have me intrigued.
Yeah.
I thought you were kind of like a bullshitter, but all right, kind of, you bait me in. What else you got? And then Bailey's like, you know, this kid used to go on walks with Gladia. Gladia was hiding the fact that Jander was her husband, so she would purposely leave
It was
him
the
at
only
home.
other humaniform robot like Daniil.
Yeah. And so she would purposely leave Jander at home and not let other people talk to him or be close to him, or she wouldn't have him around her when other people were over. So she'd go on this long ass walk.
Yeah.
And what nobody knew was that Amadiro knew about these walks, and he used to call into her house to like basically question Jander, because his idea was that if he could interview Jander and ask specific questions, he could work backward and disassemble the theory behind his design. All this is triggered because while Bailey was talking to him, he accidentally said, "Oh, Gladia and that robot that she thought was her husband? Oh no, don't worry about that." And Bailey was like, "That's weird, because I was the only one that knew that it was her husband, and I only told like 2 other people." The other loophole was that one of the guys that he supposedly talked to before Bailey even got there could have mentioned that Gladia was saying that, but, you know, it's kind of foggy. They could have also not mentioned it.
Yeah.
Especially, like, one of the people was into her, so he probably wouldn't mention it out of wanting to keep it private.
Yeah.
Like, just not have her deal with any repercussion or harm socially. The other one, which is Fastov's sister, could have said it. I mean, daughter, could have said it just because she's kind of a vindictive little bitch.
Yeah. Yeah.
But Amadiro doesn't say that that's how he got the info. He basically confesses to the fact that he was interviewing Jander and trying to figure out how he works without anyone knowing. And Fastov basically is like, that's underhanded, and that probably could have taxed the positronic brain enough that it could have just risen the chance that his brain would just turn to mush.
Yeah.
Because that was Fastov's theory, that the brain just quit.
Yeah, the random positronic drift.
Yeah.
A robo stroke or something.
Basically.
Yeah.
And, you know, this extra tax of this guy and the interview questions he did could have actually helped trigger it.
Yeah.
Not that it did, but it could have just heightened the chances of it by adding in stress. Like if you have a weak heart and you stress it out, you just up the chances of stroke.
Yeah.
So the chairman's like, "Oh man, this doesn't look good for you, Amadiro. Like the fact that you could have actually helped to kill a robot that was only the second of its design.
Yeah.
And you were trying to, your rival's robot, but also you were trying to pin the death of this robot on your rival who designed it. Like, this is really not looking good for you. I'm swinging the votes in Fastov's way. And, you know, you better concede defeat."
Yeah.
So that's kind of the way it ends. And the chairman says thank you to Bailey. And Fastov's like, "Man, he doesn't say thank you to anyone, so you should be extremely honored." And Bailey's like, "Yep. I slept with Gladia, so I don't give a shit about any of y'all."
He's like, "I touched mud the other day.
Yeah.
I'm very shook.
I touched mud and
cheated on my wife.
Cheated on my wife. It's been a 48 hours.
Blame it on the lightning."
So basically, Fastov's like, "All right. So now the chairman left, and he told me to make sure that get your ass off the planet as quickly as possible." And Bailey's like, "Can I go say bye to Gladia, and can I say bye to Giscard?"
You're skipping over the whole solution is that the it's not to be vindictive either. They didn't want to ruin the careers of either of them, and to make
I forgot they're
Fastov
like
work
stupid
together.
compromise because the planet fails anyway.
What do you mean?
Spoiler: you go on Foundation 5, you visit Aurora, and it's just dead.
Yeah.
So for me, it's probably they come up with this plan that Fastov is going to take over the Robotic Institute.
It's true. So the cover they used in the background, like on the video version, but because there's a million different covers. There's a cover of one of the Foundation
books. It's actually
books?
the cover of Foundation and Earth.
Yeah, with the statue? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Isn't that funny? That's Aurora, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's cool.
So, because this is what my hypothesis is. They have Fastov take over the Institute. Amadiro's supposed to just kind of silently step down and be okay with everything.
Yeah.
And he's going to present...
Yeah, publicly their grudge is just going to
Technically,
disappear.
He's still allowed to present why he thinks that Earth shouldn't be allowed to colonize views. but it's going to basically all swing Fastov's way. Fastov is supposed to help everyone build the human robot. Like he's supposed to finally just open up the theology to the institute and all this shit.
The theory, yeah.
But I have a feeling that a lot of that is the beginning, because Amadiro basically is like, yeah, I'm going to cooperate fully, but I have a feeling he's not, because what ends up happening many, many years later is that Aurora just is dead. It's just a dead planet.
Under Daniil's supervision. Under his horrible leadership.
I mean, we don't know what happened. But
I mean, because he plays with Daniil being the one to secretly be guiding everything.
Giscard technically, like...
Yeah, Giscard...
So...
I know, just get to that.
So yeah, so what happens is they come up with this little cute compromise, and it's decided that Earth will be allowed to colonize. So Bailey's going to go back to Earth, a hero. He goes and says bye to Gladia, and he's like, I actually love you so much, and I think about you all the time, and it was the greatest sex of my life.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Please take that other kid, because I don't want you to live 300 years not having sex and just being lonely and depressed.
Yeah.
Learn to love again.
Yeah. Peace out.
And she's like, will I ever see you again? He's like, I don't know. Probably not.
Yeah.
Probably.
Literally, yeah.
Yeah. So, and then he's like, bye-bye. I'm leaving now. In the next 12 hours. I just don't want to see you for the next 12 hours.
Yeah, even though I'm going to be on world.
Yeah. So then he's leaving, and he, on the way from her estate to Fastov's, because they basically live, like, connected.
Pretty close.
Like, it's just like this giant courtyard between them, basically, my interpretation. As he's walking, he stops and he sits under a tree with Giscard.
Yeah.
And he's like, so how long you been able to read minds?
Yeah. What? Robot. The audiobook, like, because he can't lie. The robot's not gonna explicitly lie. So it won't lie to a direct question. These robots do play with lying through implication, not telling the whole truth. Omission. So he just straight up asks him, how long have you been able to read minds? Because you picked this up on the very first talk, I think, like, right when it happened, I remember you telling me, it is sus that he could know that Bailey was suffering on the ship coming to Aurora.
Yeah, I couldn't remember if Giscard was the friend that Daniil mentions having telepathic powers in Foundation and Earth.
Yeah.
But I did notice when we're on the space ride to Aurora, when Bailey did the whole
that immersion super VR thing.
And he starts having like literally a panic attack. Giscard comes running in to save him. And then there's a couple other times where Giscard seems like he's reading his mind. I also picked up on Vasilia. She talks about how she actually feels particularly close to Giscard because she grew up with him. He was kind of like her personal robot for the giant chunk of her life.
Yeah.
And she even was allowed, since she became a roboticist following her dad's footsteps, she was allowed to do some tinkering in him. And it was her tinkering that accidentally gave him the telepathic powers that go hand, like they mirror the telepathic powers of the robot from that legend that Fastolf loved.
Yeah. Shit, I can't believe I forgot the name. Oh my God.
Susan Calvin.
Yeah, there you go. Which is from the robot, like short stories and stuff, I think.
Yeah.
I remember reading that, but I don't remember.
We'll find it.
Yeah.
That would be fun.
So he realizes that this whole time, but Giscard also realizes that he's stuck because being able to read minds is one of the best ways to be able to help people to meet their needs.
But also people aren't going to like you reading their minds.
Yeah, so he's going to be terminated, but the humans are going to terminate this thing that is beneficial to them. And that summarizes the entire predicament of leaving your society to be run by elites, be they robots or secret foundationers or second foundationers or Gaia, or because even on Gaia they mentioned they literally say the quote from Animal Farm, from all that, some are more equal than others. Like, no matter what, you can't get away from this. So Asimov isn't particularly critiquing any system, but just this shit seems inevitable. And this, even in this damn robot, you have this randomization effect. Like, how did it get this power? Like, through means you wouldn't think. You would think it would have to be Fastolf or this giant institution. that's
But it
dedicated
was
to
literally by
advancement.
accident.
Yeah, and it happened before, but then it hasn't happened often. So it's like what we said earlier about the geniuses and these huge advancements in society. Like, how do they come about? Like,
It is the fates.
can't you just produce this at will? Or can't you just figure this out and produce it at will? It's like, apparently not.
It's just the fates.
Yeah.
Like it's.
But then, so what we think, I mean, it's not super spoiler. Like you said, we read Foundation. If everybody's following us in order, like, Daniil ends up saying that he learns this ability.
Well, he actually retains it. Giscard gives it to him.
Yeah, which I guess he manually does whatever this tinkering was. You'd have to.
Or he gives him a chunk of his brain. I don't know.
I know that whole weird merging thing, which is
'Cause
Lucy Goose explained.
They're also robots, so I don't know.
He downloads, he incorporates Giscard into Daniil the same way he was going to incorporate into the hermaphroditic alien.
Could be.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, literally, it might not even be that level of. It literally could be like a hardware, like, hey, I'm going to give you a piece of this brain to attach into this brain.
It's just, I mean, yeah, I guess Gaia does get it too. So you get organics that can do this as well, and robots. It's just funny.
But Giscard talks about how he's had this telepathic power. He's been nudging Fastov in a certain direction because he realizes that humans need to colonize in order to succeed.
Yeah.
And it has to be robot free. So Giscard's like weirdly against robots.
Yeah.
What else? He's planting ideas. He has been.
He keeps jamming up Bailey, which I love.
On purpose.
Yeah. I love this trope. I don't know what that says about me, whether it's Lovecraft stuff or 3-body problem books, like with the Sophons, like these third-party agents meddling in your ability. I don't know if it's because I get so many headaches or what, or my memory's so funny. Like, I joke around the house. It's a running joke when I was reading 3-body. It's like, oh, the Sophons are attacking, and now I'm like, oh, damn it, Giscard, it threw me off. Because that's what he does. Bailey keeps, I love that he was playing with that. I actually thought that was great writing too. That, this is why we're such fair reviewers. We hated how it was drawn out. It's a real critique, but this is great work. It's a great work by Asimov.
There's 3 times that Bailey goes to sleep or has a thought and it escapes him, and he's constantly chasing it, and he can't figure out why he can't grasp
I just
it,
love
hold on to
Asimov
it.
playing with dreams. Like ancient people always said, like the gods, this external source, it's a very abstract way to get knowledge through this thing that visits you in your dreams. But the robot is able to meddle with that.
Yeah, he literally is like suppressing it.
Jammer, electro. But he knows something's there, so that's what was funny. And he realizes, oh yeah, because he talks in his sleep after sexy time with the hussy.
And
the hussy hears him saying he was there.
This sex scene, because
he says he was there first.
Yeah.
So she tells him that he was saying in his sleep he was there first, and he's like, and then that triggers the memory that he was always confused how the hell Giscard got there before Daniil.
It actually, like, so she thinks that he means Giscard when he was saved.
Yeah. But he saved him first.
So she tries
but
to,
it's
like,
both, really.
It's okay, you're safe now. But it is both.
Yeah, how was Giscard always the one first on the scene?
And he admits, he's like,
because he's not humaniform.
I subconsciously knew that Giscard would come for me, knowing that subconsciously he could read minds. He would just find my mind.
Mm-hmm. Because I guess that's a huge point we didn't mention. Because he's not humaniform, so he doesn't look like advanced. Like there's every reason to not think that much of Giscard.
Yeah.
But that's why it's pretty cool. That would be the vector through which this advanced telepathy. It's pure telepathy. There was some detail though that doesn't somebody say. Oh, is it in Foundations or is it? Somebody says that it's not. No. Maybe I'm thinking of the Manipulation by Second Foundation, where they were like, it's not full reading of minds. It's like picking up on emotion states. It's picking up on.
It might have been second. It's somewhere in Foundation where they talk about how they can't necessarily read minds.
Yeah, like every single thought you have in your head, like your internal locution.
Whereas Giscard seems to actually be able to.
I know, right? But isn't that weird? Doesn't that make such a difference between Gaia and our boy here? Because Daniil's going to have all these powers too. And it's him tying it all up kind of neatly with Fastov mentioning what I critiqued as fan servicey, like the extra lore that, actually, I think this thing called psychohistory could be a thing in the future. I just can't crack that nut, I can't, but maybe somebody will. And so, of course, his own robot, Daniil, with the telepathic power, is going to manipulate the Empire. And, the next book is Foundation and, no, Robots and Empire. And then there's those prequels to the Foundation. And,
Wait, there's Robots and Empire?
yeah, that's what I was saying. There's technically one more Bailey and Daniil book. Because, guys, we want to get into spooky season books and a bunch of cool classic horror books.
It's almost like, I don't know what time you're going to listen to this, listener.
Oh, that's true. We're going to schedule it out a little. We'll see. We'll figure that out. But, yeah.
I mean, we're still scheduled out until
I think this is still going to be September. So.
Early mid-September. So it'll actually be perfect for spooky season.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, people find podcasts all different times.
Yeah, that's
right
true.
now, we're currently getting into spooky season because we're at the beginning of September right now. We have stuff scheduled
August
until
31st when we're recording this.
Yep.
So, so we got a whole list of cool spooky books planned, classics, modern
I'm
stuff.
excited about spooky season.
One of them was an anthology of old ghost stories.
After 2 drawn-out Asimov books, I kind of need a minute.
Because I was saying there's one more left, but it's written in 85, and the Asimov rule of thumb we've developed is that the 80s works aren't that good, and they're longer. So they're both longer, and like I said, I'm saying they're not that good after we love a ton of concepts.
Like, I really love this book, but I felt like so much of it was just lecture after lecture.
Yeah,
we really could have just been in our philosophy class again.
I still think Foundation 5 is the worst, right? This is better than Foundation 5.
Oh, yeah. No, the end of this book, I literally finished it.
Yeah, the end, funny enough, is amazing, whereas the end of Foundation 5 is the worst.
I literally came to Freddie and was like, the end redeemed the entire book.
Yeah.
And it was what I hoped 5 would have done, but it didn't.
Yeah.
So that was great.
Mm-hmm.
But I kind of need a break.
Yeah.
So
we'll get back to it,
we're looking at something.
Because I was saying Asimov is great. Content creators, like, all of your videos should link to each other. There's no, like, we finished this part. Like, even in here, he talks about stuff from the iRobot short stories. Like, so everything you read, it naturally goes, well, I should read that next. So it'll be fine. When we pick up Asimov, they'll all start flowing into each other again.
Yeah.
But for now, I think we're going to end it on the robot trilogy. But, yeah, I don't know. So there's Earth, because the Earthlings couldn't go into space because spacers wouldn't let them.
Yeah.
Even though they're like a fractured, they're not one big, like the United States of space. They're not a bunch of spacer planets that are all under one government. Somehow they still do, I don't know, more like the EU, I guess. They're independent countries. So they're independent planets, but they still have some sort of governing body. Because somehow they all have, like these policies that they can apply to Earth. So there's some body that can do this. So Fastov is going to help make more share the secret on humaniform robots, but they're not going to spread in the manicured way.
My last theory, Giscard is the actual creator of psychohistory because he's been planting it into Fastov for a while.
Yeah, that's cool.
And there's a line, tell me Giscard, is this what Dr. Fastov refers to as the future science of psychohistory? Yes, sir, I've gently inserted it into his mind in order that the process of working it out begin. And it kind of makes sense because psychohistory is a mathematical breakdown of like giant human mass and the projection of like where they will go. And it makes so much sense that a robot would be the one that would be able to mathematically calculate.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And that's such a funny other parallel too that we get. Was it on Solaria where Bailey talks about how he understands statistics and stuff like that, but they're like, what are these formulas? What are you talking about? The Earth?
Yeah, that was on Solaria.
Like kind of psychohistory, wannabe psychohistory.
You meet that sociologist or you meet someone and they're like, I'm making my own science. And he's like, this is a science. Why are you confused?
Yeah.
Where's your math?
Yeah, no math.
And he's like, you're right. I guess it would make a lot of sense if I take some of these stats and like actually put something to them. So the line I was talking about earlier was, Giscard said, goodbye, friend Elijah, and remember that although people apply the phrase to Aurora, it is, from this point on, Earth itself that is the true world of the dawn.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was very cool.
She thought it was very cool. At the
I
very
told
end.
you it was eloquent. More eloquent than whatever I said.
Yeah, because in Foundation, the whole big thing is like, they even think that. Travis.
He also puts Giscard to make sure that Gladia opens up to this other kid. I heard your final conversation with Miss Gladia, sir, and I understand it will be taken care of.
This is the third time, by the way. Like I say, what does Asimov mean by this? Bailey never actually solves the crime, or how do I want to word it? The people never get punished. Like, there's no, like, it's a detective novel at its core.
He's dealing with the actual upper echelon.
I know he's above. I know, one, it's just true. These elites don't go to jail. Silly. They don't kill themselves either. But the, like on Earth, the first guy, he gets not thrown in jail. He gets flipped into being a manipulator of the medievalist. Yeah, double agent to corrupt the medievalist movement or to alter it. And then on Solaria 2, he lets Gladia go, even though she definitely did it. He just needs a future space hussy, so she gets to go free.
You can't put a space hussy in jail.
Yeah.
And then in this one, they just decide to settle this in private, and he's just going to lose the debate, and votes are going to swing
benefit
to
Earth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I also
they give a whole shit. He's giving shit to that the robot doesn't know what justice is. And I was like, do you know what justice is, reader? Like, Asimov's trying to say, like, this is better to have it help so much more people.
So technically, Giscard is also going to be helping in the background in whatever way he can to make sure that the planet, like, the plan to have Earth, because he's probably also been planting into Fastolf this idea that, like, the Earthmen should be the ones to colonize the stars.
So we really got to just help. Shout outs to the Giscard. We're looking at the baby monitor real quick. What do you think?
I don't know.
The tension is building. What will it be?
She seems very...
You want to pause?
I might have to.
Let's do a quick baby break. We'll be right back. We're back. Baby's all right. We basically summarizing. I mean, I think we covered most.
I think we covered most of the book. Is there anything you feel like we missed?
No. Even the main ideas and stuff. Like, it's just the next book got to be about them forging and laying the groundwork for the future Foundation. Probably. But by the time we pick the Foundation up, it's 20,000 years in the future. You know, the Foundation book. So that's 20,000 years, which is where the robot body really shines through. But yeah, it's just cool to see Bailey going from, he did such a good job with showing how living in these caves of steel, they were literally terrified of being outside. His whole transition in Earth was just literally imprisoned on Earth from spacers. Yeah. And now they're going to be the ones because of a robot. Stars. Yeah, but like it is a cool sci-fi to his point of sci-fi. Like it is a robot that's going to facilitate that.
I feel like I missed a point. Fastolf. I feel like it was a circle where like Fastolf did certain actions and he thinks it's because of him, but it was probably because of Giscard.
Yeah, which gets to my point. Like, what is Asimov trying to say here?
And Giscard for sure he knew because he knew that he admits to Bailey that killing Jander did two things for him. It made it so that this other guy... Oh, yeah, because it turns out... I don't think we actually said that before we went on baby break. So, Giscard realized that Jander was being interviewed by the other robotics guy, Amadiro. Yeah. And he was like, oh, hell no.
Oh, so yeah, like
he
Giscard.
Purposely turned Jander... Like, because he had access to Fastolf's mind... He was able to actually follow the same steps Fastolf would have been able to do, which is why Fastolf, although it technically is still correct in saying he is the only person that could have created...
He's the only person.
Yeah, he's the only person that could have created the freeze-out of Jander's positronic brain. Giscard just triggered it himself so that he wouldn't continue to be interviewed while Gladio was on these long walks by Amadiro.
Yeah. Because he knows he's getting close.
But he knew that it gave him two things. It made it so that Amadiro didn't have access to the technology anymore. and it made it so that an investigation would have to be triggered, and they can push to have Bailey brought because he wanted to actually meet a human in person after Daniil described what Bailey was like. And he said he basically did implant the idea to like have the chairman, he messed with like the chairman's mind, Fastall's mind.
All right. Yeah. So we're already at 2 hours plus. This might have to be a separate whole talk, and we'll look up stuff. Maybe that'll be, like, instead of the reading for that episode, we'll be looking up different theories and people's opinions. But funny, we were talking about the eugenics stuff earlier, that they say they do well on Aurora, and it would have killed Fastoff, who would have never been born under their normal eugenics plan. So, but isn't he the bad guy? If you think that the ultimate ending of this story is that Daniil tricks humanity into merging with an extraterrestrial creature, an alien being, like he takes it from sci-fi to like, let's just merge everybody.
Yeah, not with the Solarian at the end of Foundation, or
because like we said in that one, he's an alien or something, or was guided genetically
he's the
from
enemy
aliens.
For sure.
He's the enemy of humanity, but Daniil wants to merge with it. So, like we said, what the hell is Asimov trying to say with that at the end of the Foundation series? And then you learn, like a funny thought before when we were ranting against the eugenics, I was like, but wait, it would have killed Fastoff, and we would have never got humaniform robots, and we would have never been guided by this robot that isn't that good of a guide if the Empire fell, if it seems like normal human society. Like, what would have been different? I know the whole Foundation plan, obviously, is to shorten from 30,000 years, right, to 1,000. And you could say they're sticking to plan.
Like you're saying, what's the point of the robots?
Wasn't the ultimate end, ultimately the robot does ending up merging us with the enemy? Because Travis is like, man, good thing the enemy's not here. Like we said, clearly the ending, you go back and listen to Foundation 5 if you're lost.
Clearly was going to be writing another series.
Or leaving it to a future writer. I gotta give him that. I think maybe he was passing the torch a little bit to, all right, what would that look like if we have to live with alien creatures?
Or like we merge humans and, well, actually it wouldn't be because it was Daniil.
Homo technus, like the idea that we already are a species that's merged with technology.
With an alien.
Yeah, or like.
Although that was the whole point.
But that dynamic doesn't make sense if they evolved naturally. They're their own creatures.
I wonder how that works for a robot, because technically the way that the 3 laws works is that a human is the one that created it. So would the 3 laws apply to an alien?
No, of course not. I mean, that's what I'm saying. They evolved naturally. They're gonna be like, F you. You don't control us.
So if the Solarian
is a fundamentally
is part
different
alien,
relationship. Yeah. Is that
he doesn't get around the 3 laws. That was the whole point.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. That's why the ending is kind of, it seemed rushed at Foundation 5 and odd.
You can tell it's late for me.
Yeah. No, it's okay. I mean, that's what I mean by, but this should be a whole talk. This could be a whole super talk anyways. Because this gets at the very, like I say, esoteric Asimov. Was he trying to actually say here, read between the lines? I don't think he's actually saying incest is good. Like,
no.
That's what could happen on Aurora, and that's what she wanted because of Aurora's standards. He's, I think, clearly saying that's bad. That there's an intuition that you should look to. And the intuition from Travis, I know, was to go with Gaia, but it's similar to the indoctrination theory in Mass Effect that maybe what we're seeing is what's supposed to be avoided. Like I say, like, let's play this out in fiction.
Yeah.
Let's have the bad, timeline, like they always say, oh no, we're in the good timeline or bad timeline. Let's play with the bad endings in fiction so we have the good ending in reality. And so I think you could argue, although it seems like Asimov is explicitly pro-sci-fi, pro-technology merger.
Now reading more of his work, I'm like, this is much
he not?
more...
Because even here, even Giscard, so even the robot is saying, no, I think you guys should go out without robots.
Yeah.
So what the F? The smartest robot is anti-robot. The mind-reading robot is, and then we know, but then Daniil goes against that. Not against that. I guess Giscard isn't saying you shouldn't have any robots, but just shouldn't be colonizing worlds in this, building them up with robots and then having us just move in when it's all nice and comfy. But at the end, we know that you're supposed to be screaming, almost like the Interstellar guy, like screaming from, but you can't, screaming from behind the glass, basically. As the reader, you can't affect what's happening in the book, but you're watching like, no, you're making the wrong decision, Travis. Like, I think, like I said, the intuition pump in philosophy, like, it's supposed to freak you out that Travis wants us to merge with Gaia. And it's supposed to freak you out that Daniil wants to merge with this alien enemy. Travis had a gut feeling that it's the enemy for some reason. And the robot ends up
merging with the enemy.
This robot that's been guiding us against our will, it immediately starts violating everybody's willpower. Like some of the critiques of...
I have this interesting quote. It goes, Earthmen will have to settle the galaxy without robots of any kind. It will mean difficulties, dangers, and harm without measure, events that robots would labor to prevent if they were present. But in the end, human beings will be better off for having worked on their own. And perhaps someday, some long-away day in the future, robots can intervene once more. Who can tell?
But why would they intervene? He's saying maybe if we work hard enough, then we can reintroduce robots. Like, let's not have them for this phase of humanity.
I don't know. Like he says, he's not
empire.
Sure, but we do know that there's Gaia, and we do know that in a funny way they don't stop intervening.
That's what I mean by you do. I mean, Daniil's alive this whole time.
Yeah.
Whatever happens with Giscard, like.
Well,
is Daniil the secret enemy of the series?
In a funny way, I'm assuming both him and Giscard manipulate.
Yeah, that's what I mean by is Daniil actually, in a weird way, the enemy?
This is why we're supposed to read Prelude and Forward to Foundation.
But to be real world fair, out of the lore, he wrote those way later, and after that, I'm like, what were you trying to say when you wrote this? Because,
yeah,
like he's getting at something. That's what I mean by this. Really could be a whole talk.
Technically, he wrote this way after.
No, I know. Yeah, this is in the '80s also, so it's around the whole Gaia stuff.
He may have been tying everything in.
He was, but that's what I mean by. I don't think people at a superficial level. Everybody loves Daniil. Even I wasn't thinking this deep about this stuff when I read it before.
I feel like Daniil took such a backseat in this book.
Yeah, for sure.
I really enjoyed Giscard's character, but
yeah, Giscard was cool, but that's what I mean by not that he's an enemy in the sense like he's just doing what he's supposed to do. Like I said, Asimov as a Dharma guy, like you're supposed to fill your role, and he's doing his role, and then everybody else should act accordingly. But I actually wonder if this is Asimov, even if he didn't intend to, which is even funnier. It's a warning. It's like maybe the robots are actually the bad guys, because Daniil does end up. You can't have it both ways. That human exploration should be without robots, and there's some intangible.
And then also the robots establishing an entire planet
and running its secret societies.
It runs by the third law, and it runs a secret society. It runs 2 secret societies.
He's running layers of secret societies with both within the Empire and then within Foundation and then even Second Foundation.
Along with other robots, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah, it just seems like they're not getting the point of this book, of the robot series. You could see the end of Foundation, the ultimate ending of chronologically, the end of Asimov's work, as the robots not learning the lesson from the robot series, ironically.
Yeah. Kind of funny.
Yeah. So, I think you want to end it there, because that could be a whole nother super talk. Let's call it there. That's the end of that.
Yeah, sorry there weren't as many quotes. Although, honestly, let us know if you don't like so many quotes, or if you do.
I think sometimes we read them a little too long, but that was a good amount. Maybe we'll do better about picking out, certain key ones. Because you do highlight a lot, which is very helpful sometimes. But
I do highlight a lot, but I usually have access. But regardless, it's not just that. Sometimes I don't know. Like, sometimes we're able to go a little more in depth because we have multiple talks. I feel like the first talk we did on this book was
about how frustrated we were.
Not just that; it was also like just like the first third of it or something. Yeah, and then we're covering like 2/3.
Yeah. But it was more
a lot.
Philosophically interesting.
Yeah,
like outside the
it
story
got
itself.
so much more interesting.
What
later.
it wants to comment on, really, the real world
You
application.
literally, like, I remember when we did it. I didn't realize you were literally 10 minutes from that
I know,
rant.
that's crazy. But yeah, but
Sorry,
that's
y'all.
that. We'll get back
Yes.
to more Asimov in a bit, but we probably are going to do a spooky book little run here.
Yeah, probably.
So-
I think it's time.
Yeah, which, funny enough, some of the spooky ones merge sci-fi stuff.
Like, we
So-
did Mr. Mercedes, and I do think it would kind of be interesting to do a Stephen King book, just
Yeah,
because
we'll do it.
him and Asimov both were such... Well,
They
you
were-
say that like he's dead. He's alive.
Yeah,
But he writes so much.
because we were saying we weren't, Asimov is dead, I think, by the time we were born. But he's the most prolific American writer, and then you got King is like not the most, but insane.
No, but he has an
amount of
insane
work.
body of work.
hmm So he's like the closest thing
How
in
funny
volume
is
wise.
secretly he's just trying to meet
I know.
meet or beat
He's got
Asimov.
it's got to be a thought. If you make this much, you might as well go for the
It's
record.
so interesting.
Yeah. But so we'll probably read some King. You read The Shining. I never read The Shining, so that
I
might
read
be
The
cool.
Shining.
I know it's
I
long.
read
but-
Doctor Sleep.
Mhm.
I read the Bill
Pet
Hodges
Sematary.
trilogy, Pet
Yeah.
Cemetery.
So all those were really good, and we didn't really
I read a
record
decent
anything.
amount of his work.
Yeah,
Like,
but definitely some classics too, and some randos. We were looking at a cool list. So
there are some really cool, also Stephen King books that I haven't read.
Yeah.
I refuse to read it. I'm sorry if you all really like it. It's long. It's
You got
not
bored.
as interesting as some of his pieces, like The Shining.
mhm.
I started it. It wasn't. So don't expect it on the list right away.
yeah. I'm
We
sure
might get
eventually.
to it. I might one day, but like especially after these drawn out Asimov books, I need something fun.
Maybe that compilation. There was one of like actual historical, like old ghost
I'm just scared
stories.
that compilation is gonna be written in such an old style.
We'll see. We'll look into it.
Because it literally, he compiled how many, and when was it written?
I forget. Don't worry, we'll figure it out.
Yeah, that's the only thing about that compilation that hit me later. I was
No.
like, man.
We'll see. But there's other ones on there too.
I know.
I read Dracula. I think you'd love it.
I haven't read Dracula, so that'd
Yeah.
be cool.
And neither of us have finished Frankenstein.
I haven't read Frankenstein.
Yeah.
Um,
There was a couple on there though. And then there's a bunch of other ones. I think Three Body Problem is technically a horror and sci-fi, but it's long. It's crazy
it's long
long.
and drawn out, and the names suck. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah.
Take
See
it
that.
personal if you want, but I couldn't even remember Gary's name.
Yeah, we can't understand American
me get
names that are
his- I'm gonna-
spelled.
Let me
weird.
let y'all know what his name was, by the way, because I
Boy.
actually have it right here. His name was Griminois.
Grimace Shake. When Grimace.
Gary.
Yeah. When Grimace Shake. And what did I send you? That might be the compilation I want. It's called Roald Dahl's Book of Ghost Stories. It was written in 1983. It combed through over 749 short stories in the British Museum Library and chose a collection of 14 of the best stories to create this anthology. We'll see. We'll see what we get into. It's a big old list.
Mm-hmm.
But let's call it there. Good night, everybody, or at least where we are. Nighttime.
Yeah.
We'll
yeah,
see.
I'm tired.
Yeah.
So,
See you
Good
next
night,
one.
y'all.
This has been a great Asimov run.
yeah.
We'll see you soon. Bye.